2 mid-season patch notes.
Good morning. A little bit earlier than usual. We're live with the mid-season update show.
You guys tell me if it should be louder or
I'm your host,
quieter.
I'll be joined soon by a lot of the developers of the game Smite to see exactly what we've got going on this patch. We've got a lot of stuff coming in this patch with regards to ranked updates, new item
good.
tree to talk about, alongside a ridiculous amount of a ton of god balance and rework potential things as well to talk about.
Yep.
But first of all, let's have a
Thank you,
little
Nintendo.
look at some of the skins that you may be able to see in the patch coming up. We're going to see Power Up Hera first of all on your screen.
Hera.
That looks amazing. I'm excited to see that
okay.
one in game.
Davi
Not only
Hera,
that, we'll
whatever her
have
name is.
fun Apocalypse Jabelong. What?
God, that skin is so scary. That's a Shibalanka
Hello? That looks a little bit... Okay, that's a little bit scary.
It's a scary skin.
Fun Apocalypse Jabelonke. Yes, that's Jabelonke. Following that, it's Sweetie Pie Sol. Yes, she's got all the candy on show once more. And then following that, we'll also see some Sweet Justice Nemesis.
That's a Nem skin?
She's very sweet. Oh, back to Hera
There's a-
again, real
oh,
quick for a
back
second.
to Hera.
And then we'll see Rematch Hera is what it is this time round.
Is that a recolor
Following
of that
Rematch
skin?
Hera,
It
we'll
is.
also have Zappy Chibi
There's a
Zeus.
lot of cute
Yes,
going
a
on
new
in this
chibi
patch.
skin.
Holy,
This
there's a lot of
time- ooh, look at the
sexy
little
cute
love
going on
heart
right
too.
now.
Love the card
That's a
art
sexy
with
Zeus,
these.
though.
Spirit Sun Hoagie. And not just Spirit Sun Hoagie. Yes, there's still 4 more skins to go. Snow Strix
skins.
Raw. Oh,
Yeah,
looks
out
evil.
raw.
I like it.
Woo!
A little bit Ymir-esque. Molten Shogun Erlang Shen.
Oh, an Erlang,
After Molten
finally!
Shogun Erlang Shen, we've got the one that I saw earlier on, Infantry Sylvanas. The deadliest tree this side
That's
of the
a scary
Atlantic.
tree.
And last but certainly not least, the great Tengu Kernanos will also be available
Kernanos?
in this update.
That looks
But with
nothing
that,
like him.
That's
Wow.
enough for the skins for the time being. It's time to move on to
Wow.
the most important part of this section. That's
That looked
all about the balance and
nothing like
updates
him.
you're going to see
Yes.
to Smite
Oh, this is
in
gonna
the
be
coming
thick.
months. And to do so,
This is gonna
I'm
be
going to be
thick.
joined by
Get
some
your feet
lovely
away from
guests
my
on the
face,
casual
Hindu.
set today. It's the
Get 'em
none
now.
other
No.
than Pom Pom, Clumsy,
Hi,
and
everybody.
AJ.
No,
Gentlemen,
who's
how
this
are you
person
doing
above
today?
me?
You
We'll
all
never
prepared
know.
and ready?
Oh
It's
yeah,
impossible to tell.
Early, but I'm ready.
feeling
Patch
good.
notes, yeah.
I'm excited by where we're going to start off with today, first of all. We're going to start off with some ranked updates, first of
I'm
all.
gonna be in the way.
First thing to mention is the
Where am
queue
I?
time is going to be going down. We're going to be reducing the queue time from 9 minutes to 7 minutes. And a note here says that ranked is in a healthier state than it has been for a while, showing MMR and changes to the progression pace and seem to be going well. We can
Okay.
likely reduce the queue time
7
now as well. So it's coming down from 9 to 7 minutes.
that's
Is that
decent.
just to try and speed things up, guys? Is that
That's
what it's
decent.
about?
9
Yeah,
to
so that's
7.
what a lot of these changes are
Okay.
aimed to do is speed up the pace of the rank conquest experience. You have to go into a queue and then you have to go into a lobby, and the lobby can take some time, and so we just want to make sure that that feels a lot quicker to get actually into the action.
For me?
And as a note, it's something that we might experiment with more as the patch continues. We might actually try
Interesting.
different times and push it lower and lower and see how low we can actually push the queue before we actually start hindering matchmaking to a point where we can't go any lower.
Okay, so that's going to be a work in progress thing.
No, I don't
We
hate
know
that
this
idea.
is a priority for our
I
players.
don't hate that. Okay.
But there is just a factual correlation between queue time and matchmaking quality.
true. Yeah, I'm with
It
you.
fluctuates a bit based on region and time of day, but we want to do our best to minimize this wait time as much as possible. So we're trying to speed up lobbies, speed up queues, and just make sure people get in the game.
Now, the next thing to mention on this is
Cool-
going to be
cool by me.
there's going to be an increase in the amount of bans in your game in the
one more
ranked
ban.
modes. We're going to be increasing the ban count from 8 to 10 in all ranked modes. So in Conquest, there's going to be 2 additional bans. That's going to come at the end of the first ban phase.
No!
Joust the same way.
Wait.
Duel also.
Wait, the
but there's
first ban
only one phase of bans there. Competitive play will also be using this new ban system.
End of the
but
first
options
ban.
will exist in
So
custom
3.
games to use
Not
previous
the
and
end of the
lower
bans.
count ban systems. Gentlemen, why
I
are we
think we're
increasing
good.
bans?
I think we're good. I thought
More
he meant at the
bans,
end
more
of the
gods,
bans.
more bans, right?
Yep.
This is something the community's been talking about for a long time.
Yeah, quite a bit. We see it, from the higher levels play as well as just
got
casuals on
nervous
social
for a
media.
second.
And we've got a lot of gods now. We've been pumping them out, so I think
There's
that
a
means
lot of gods.
a few more bans will help in the competitive scene.
So
Ranked.
more bans can have a
Why is his
difficult
mic
to
so-
predict outcome. We
bad
expect
on
that certain
Apex
gods we're gonna see their
everybody
ban
else.
rate increase. We want the community to be aware of that going forward. Now, since we're just adding bans, it might give us some weird sense of balance, right? Some gods are gonna jump up in ban rate. We're gonna have more 100% pick ban type of scenarios in SPL, and that's not gonna mean that the game's less balanced. it's just going to be that we added more bands. I'm sure people are going to make that mistake. I'll be correcting people on Reddit and Twitter all day, but want to talk about it up front. We want to be honest, and talk about the results.
Right.
So it's going to
I don't know why his
mean
mic
that
is
some
so
of the best
bad
gods are
compared to
not going to get
everybody
played as
else's,
much.
Yeah, some of the newer gods for sure.
Truth is that's going to happen. But we think that from community feedback, the way we've been discussing with the Olympians and the pro players, the frustration factors and the ability to block out more picks, which actually should open up a lot of viability in the lower end and the middle parts of the god classes, right? So you can box out more gods that counter you that might make more wide variety of solo laners available. We're hoping that we end up seeing some more variation. We hope we'll see a lot of
just by
positive
adding
outcomes
one
from this
ban,
as well as we know the community's just been wanting it, been asking it. So this should be a fantastic feature.
Well, the other thing on this list as well is quicker draft lobbies. Obviously, even with the bans increasing, we're trying to lower the amount of time you spend picking and banning. And so what we're going to be seeing here is decrease the pick time from 30 seconds to 20 seconds, decrease the ban time from 30 seconds to 15 seconds, and also increase, though, the bank time from 30 seconds to 40 seconds. So that's just to allow in case there's a bit of a window
pretty
there.
significant
with adding more bans, we want to make sure that the lobby didn't take much longer, and it's already been like a big frustration where the lobbies can take a long time. I did the math on it; it's about 10 minutes if everyone goes to like max time. Even with these new bans, these new numbers actually push that max time down to 7 minutes, so pretty heavy reduction. And because there's a lot quicker pace, and you have to make a lot more quick decisions and what bans you're going to do and what picks you're going to do, we want to give a little bit of extra bank time so that people can discuss things when they're actively trying to pick and ban.
I like it.
The last thing I've got on this list of ranked updates as well is reset logic, but there's no notes.
Cool.
We're going to make some adjustments to how we're resetting at a split. Last split was a little too intense. We're going to be cutting that intensity in half.
Okay.
It's a big change. You're not gonna. Your MMR is not going to change as much on this next split reset, and we're going to continue to look into TP and promotion progress throughout the upcoming splits to see if we can smooth this out. I think the combination MMR TP has been really successful so far. Like Pon mentioned at the beginning, we've had a lot of people playing ranked. We've had a lot of people appreciating this more feedback about their skill as they're changing. But it's a complicated system, and there's a lot of ways that it can be balanced, and we're still working the finer points out.
Well, that's it for ranked for now, but now we're going to move on to... Well, I'm surprised you guys have organized the show this way this week. We're going to start off with a new item tree, and this is always one of the things that is always like, ooh, what are we going to be doing here? This tree, though, is under the Arthurian?
Arthurian. New item.
Sounds better when you say it.
I know, and I just wanted to check how the Americans wanted me to say it. I don't want to offend people. We'll start things off with the Arthurian tree then, and that's where this item tree is going to be. What's the whole objective of this tree, gentlemen?
All right, new item tree, let's go.
Numbers and such.
Yeah, so I think the big goal of this tree was to bring something first unique to items. Items in our game often have these kind of more passive effects. You don't have much control over when they activate, and so we wanted to give some players a way to like actually use the effect when they really, really want to.
Are they adding active items to Smite?
Using your ultimate ability. And so these new item trees
Are they
focus
adding
on
active items?
Use your ultimate ability, you will gain an effect that is unique to each class and is often class defining. It'll help classes focus their identity more. Mask kind of broadened it so that you could flex into a different class. These items more focus your goal towards your class.
Okay.
This item tree is really exciting because it's themed all around King Arthur and Camelot and those legends. The items are themed in that way, and their gameplay applications are different than anything else. So these items are grouped together in a tree, even though they have very different stats. There's a tank one, an assassin one, a mage one, an assassin warrior, and a hunter one, all in the same tree, but they all share the same kind of passive trigger, which occurs only when you fire your ultimate, and it has a cooldown, so it'll work with stancers and things like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So although you're going to see different stances or different types of stats in this tree, the items are all connected through that sense. And
so
items have really far-reaching implications in the game, right? Because any god can build these new items. So we're going to see a lot of meta shifts we expect, and a lot of characters go up and down based on these items.
Okay, well, with this tree, then there's going to be 3 tiers to the tree. So to build the whole item, you're going to have to get tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 of the item will be Gem of Fate. Its cost is 900, and you get 10% cooldown reduction for building that. Tier 2 is where it'll branch off then. Honed Edge will cost 1600 gold and have 10% cooldown reduction and 30 physical power. Apprentice Staff will have the same cost of 1600, 10% cooldown reduction and 50 magical power. And the Night Shield will cost the same amount as 1600 gold, be 10% cooldown reduction, 25 physical protections, and 25
so building
magical
into these
protections.
are pretty.
And that's where we get to our very first tier 3 item. Be ready at home.
Tier 3s.
Because the drama will unfold, I'm sure.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Builds from Honed Edge is the first one, and this is the Hunter's Only item. It's called Fail Not, I believe.
Fail Not.
I like that name.
20%
Hunters Only.
CDR is a lot.
Zap, you listening?
Okay.
2,800 gold is how much it'll cost. 20% cooldown reduction.
All right. Pretty
50
expensive.
physical power. 25% chance to crit. And passive. After you finish casting your ultimate ability, your next ability cast within 5 seconds that damages an enemy god marks them, increasing the chance they will be critically struck by 15% for 10 seconds. This can only trigger once every 45 seconds.
Yep, and one important note is it says ability, but also basic attacks will trigger this as well. So any damaging basic attack or ability that you cast.
So
Now,
it's
we
the
should be able
best
to see
hunter
this
item in the
real quick,
game.
and you guys can talk me through a little bit more about what the idea
It's
of
the
this is.
best
Obviously,
hunter
it's
item in the game.
After you use your ultimate, so like a World Weaver with Neath here,
It's just
you're
not
gonna
even
get bonus
close.
crit chance.
Yep.
20%
And so the goal here
CDR.
is really to focus on
50
a kind of
power,
like niche that hasn't really existed for the ability hunters, which is
40%
going
crit?
into these more single heavy hitting crit builds. It has a lot of power,
For
a lot of
2,800
CDR, which
gold.
is the stats that you want on those characters. The critical strike is generally more for the in-hand hunters and allowing you to kind of like mess around with that stat distribution to try and create an optimal build.
All right.
Interesting. And not only that is it's a critical strike debuff to the target to make them take critical strikes, which means other characters that haven't built crit yet, including maybe Ymir, could crit.
Hold on.
No way.
This item will
It's
impact
increased
your
taking
teammates'
crit
chance to
from
crit as well, not
everybody
just you.
on
It's
your
a crit
team.
debuff
What?
on the target, not a
Yes.
crit buff to you.
Did I just read it wrong?
So
Is
as
that
you
what it
see,
was?
no, you read it.
You read it
Already
correct.
right?
Just
Okay,
a
I was
little-
like, wait, I didn't see that,
That
bit in
means
the
it's like
text.
an
So if you see here
80%
that
crit
that's
chance
on screen,
item.
you can see he's putting this green crosshair on the Odin target. If you get a little closer, please.
my
After
God,
the damage,
that's-
first damage triggers, you can put that
Alright,
green
well,
crosshair.
as long as
That means
every
you fail
class
modded.
gets one
That
and
means
every
you can
class
be
has a
crit by
busted item,
anyone
then it's
who
just a
hits
new
you,
mandatory item
including
that you have to buy.
Minions
so.
and jungle camps. Last I checked.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Fire
And
Giant?
jungle bosses.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
You're
so
telling me
excited to
Fire
see
Giant
that.
can crit?
Basic attack with his basic attack.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
Anyone can be
Right.
crit.
Because
When
you're
I
not going to be
first
crit off
saw
of
this
abilities.
item, I'll be
Wow.
honest, I wasn't
That's
too
so
excited about
strong.
it because, hey, it's an ultimate, on a hunter. I'm like, all right, cool. So Neef's going to use a World Weaver and crit afterwards.
That's
not going to be
so
effective.
strong.
But she could now ult across the map and then give that person crit chance to
Well,
kill the
just to
target.
clarify, for all of these items, you have to fire your ultimate and then follow up. It doesn't just attach to your ultimate.
Gotcha.
All
Correct.
of these items require additional playmates after the
That's
ultimate.
fine.
So in this
So
example,
you
that
shoot
saw
your
gameplay,
ulti, then
he was
auto,
firing the World
or
Weaver.
whatever.
That's not applying the fail not. That's just
That's fine.
activating the fail not passive.
That's
Then
still
we'll
that's
see
so
then
that.
the
strong.
next ability or basic attack is applying the
Forget
fail
about
not
the
passive.
passive. The item
You cannot
stats
make
are
World Weaver crit
insane.
debuff someone across the map.
While they're at the fire
20
giant thing, you
CDR,
have to-
But you
50
can't
power,
summon
20.
someone across the map.
It
and
can
then
have no
debuff
passive
someone
and be
closer.
super strong.
And that's going to be a theme with all of the
know?
items. You'll have to follow up
Forget
after the
about
ultimate.
that.
We wanted to make sure that this
I mean, heck,
extended
Ymir being able to
the
crit,
fight as
woo,
opposed
but-
to just one-shot people.
Yep.
Well, we can move on then to
Oh,
the next one
man.
in this tree, and it will be the next tier 3, which is Arendite, I believe. This builds out of Honed Edge, and it's for the Warriors and Assassins only. It'll cost 2,600 gold. It'll have 10% cooldown reduction, 55 physical power, and the passive says that after casting your ultimate ability, reveal all enemies within 120 feet of you. While moving towards revealed targets, you will gain 30% increased movement speed. When a revealed enemy takes damage from you for the first time, they take an additional 40 plus 30% of your physical power. Enemies are revealed for 8 seconds, and this can trigger once every 45 seconds. So this is really good for revealing where, a potential counter gank could be coming from if you're ganking a target.
Yeah, we had a lot of interesting use cases of this when we were playing in like the play test. For example, I was playing Nemesis and I'd ult over a wall to catch someone out, and I'd reveal the whole enemy team on that side of the wall, and then I'd be able to run down whoever I wanted that I had revealed by just chasing them down and then bursting them with an additional follow-up from Arendite.
That's
so this really encourages
very
the kind
good.
of assassin warrior playstyle of using your ultimate ability to engage and then diving further into the back
These
line.
are the best
And
items
actual
ever
moves
put
that
into
you get for
Smite.
Chasing targets is pretty
Honest to
potent.
God, these
Is
are
it
the
only
best
you,
items they have
the
ever
caster
put
of
into
that
Smite.
ability that can see
This
through
is
the
insane.
walls and such like that? Or is
They're
it you
just
can-
they're
It's a
just
team
saying,
wide
let's give
Wow.
every class a
So if they are within
mandatory
120
item that you
units of
have to buy.
They will be revealed
know?
to your entire team.
Okay.
They're just
Yeah, so
every
here you
single
can see a
class
few
is
things.
just
You can
getting
see the
one.
pa-
They're
the debuff.
absolutely mandatory
That's
to
the
buy.
circles on those Odins. That's triggering just from firing his ultimate. Any gods nearby are going to get that debuff on them.
Oh
then,
my goodness.
you can see the post-process effects on the Hercules. That's to let you know that you are in the Erendite state, and you can run down these targets faster if you run toward them.
Right.
I can't wait to be run down by
Someone who's gonna
Thanatos
get a
with that
movement speed
ability.
bonus as
And then the
well.
Thank
first
God
hit
he
does
has
bonus damage, which you
10,000
can also see
movement
he's
speed
been
walking
demonstrating
at
here. He walks up to them, see that little extra yellow
Plus
number.
his scythe is going to hit me harder.
Second hits does not, only the first one. So this is a really cool ability for assassins. Jump into the back line, alt somebody,
I
reveal the
pray
whole
that
team,
my
and as people
mage
start
one
to
is
scatter,
good. I
let your
pray.
team
I pray for
follow
the
up on
mage.
the cleanup, or it helps you pursue a target that's
That's
trying to flee because
insane.
you'll be able to move
That's
quicker toward
so
them, and you'll know
much
exactly where they're going.
stuff.
Okay.
At first, I was like 10%
With two
CPR, 55
of these
physical
items
powers.
in
Just
total.
Yeah, these
And
are
then
these are
two
intense.
more
These
to
are
go?
exciting.
Yeah.
This
Two more.
passive is
We still
better
have
than
the
the
mage
hunter.
one and the guardian one.
All right,
Hunter's
here we go. Mage
basic
and Guardian
stats are better,
only
but
is this
that
what
one's
this one
passive
says.
is better.
It's Staff
Oh,
of
boy.
Mirrodin. Yeah,
Mirrodin.
Okay.
I just want to make
Mirrodin.
sure I get it right.
This is
Staff
the
of
mage
Mirrodin
one.
builds from the apprentice staff. This is going to be 2,800 gold, 10% cooldown reduction, and 100 magical power. The
Stats are
passive.
fine.
After casting your ultimate ability, your next ability, non-ultimate ability cast, within the next 10 seconds, will have no cooldown, but will only hit for 70% of its normal damage and heal for 70% of its normal healing. Can trigger once every 45 seconds. So I cast my ultimate, and then I fire my ability. The next ability I cast, I get a free cast of it, and then I
So-
can cast it again.
Yes, so that same ability that you cast will be able to cast again. You can dual cast. So if you
Double
have,
cast.
Yeah, double cast. If
Doesn't
you
matter.
You guys are
Twin
so
cast.
dead.
Twin cast, nice.
whatever
I
one it is. So for example, here
I'm
am
Nox-
going
clear
to
cast.
wreck
Nox can ult and then one,
all of you.
and then one someone else.
You gotta use it twice back to
and
back.
two and two again.
Yes,
You
can
guys
ult
are
and
gonna
two
get
again. If you're Hebo,
slapped.
you can ult, knock up.
Oh no, Hebo! What have you done? I'm
if-
trying to think of all the combinations.
There's
there's
gonna be a lot of different
my
ways you can
God.
use
I'm
this.
never losing another
Some
game of
guardians
Smite.
can use it really effectively, like double.
I just
double
won
in
every
your
game of
wall,
Smite.
You walk
Wait,
a
Gab.
path off, and then
Have
their
fun
road
with
would
my
go a
Scylla,
different path,
ladies
you
and
block it
gentlemen.
off.
Have
the
a fun
foibles
time.
will often die, so like
Good
the
luck.
first one will fade, and the
Good
second
luck,
one will appear,
everyone.
So there's rules that you'll have to
Prepare
learn
to
by
be
playing
root
this item.
crippled for the rest of your
There's
life.
a lot of interesting cases that on the surface aren't immediately apparent, but there's a wide array of applications that you can
Oh
use
my goodness.
So they gave me a new mic here. Do I sound okay?
Hey, they gave him a new
This
mic.
item has a lot of applications
Oh
and a lot
my
of learning
goodness.
experiences to go along with it.
Yeah.
I'm so
If
ready.
you try to use this on something like Aphrodite birds, you could do more damage, but you can't double stack ticks.
Yeah, because they
Or
refresh
can
each
you?
other.
This is
a
so
lot
good,
of,
dude.
A lot of effects
Oh,
refresh.
man.
You'll have to learn what works well for your god.
I'm so
So I
ready.
God
can,
that you
I
play
can
against as
Gebel,
well.
shield, or I could Gebel, knock up.
Yeah,
Correct.
that would
Right?
definitely work out.
Correct. But then you'll be investing into a completely no protections, no health, no tank
man.
item on a Geb.
I love
But if you're
it.
playing that solo or jungle Geb,
I
which
love
people
it,
pull out,
dude.
Or Bacchus.
Don't try and
Bacchus,
shame me for
yeah,
my
multiple
ideas and
reasons.
creativity here.
God,
with Gab.
they're
I think
all
that
these
this
items are
certainly
so
has guardian
broken.
potential. Certainly.
I love
but
it.
This is a really interesting item. It's kind of a
That's
theme for
so
all of these items.
busted.
They have a lot of
That's
flexible
actually so
applications and
busted.
a lot of different ways to use them. And you're going to have to experiment a little bit more in
It's
game
legit
to make sure
so
that
busted.
they're working the way you expect, because of the core rules of Smite. Kind of break these items in a couple places.
So,
So,
like for example, Hera was an example that people tried to use
Yeah.
in our early tests, but Argus doesn't go on cooldown until Argus dies, and so this effect occurs after your ultimate goes on cooldown.
That's funny.
So some characters have more
Oh,
innate synergy with this
man.
item, where their abilities work a bit more favorably. But if you want to play Hera and then kind of use your ultimate in a really aggressive way and just have Argus die so you can get double cast, that's something that you
Lord
have to learn
almighty.
to do with this item.
Double
she can-
polymorph sounds good.
have a much longer extended fight and still get that power
feels
play. It's just
good.
not going to be at the same time.
Oh, this
Yeah.
feels good.
Play around a little bit, basically, with this as much as
Right.
possible.
And
I'm
people-
sure you guys at home will do your very best at trying to break this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It'll happen for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's it for Staff of Maiden. Next up, though, is
Wow.
Pridewin, is the last one on this
The
list. And
last
this is going to
one.
build out of Knight's Shield.
Oh, this was
It's going to
cheap.
cost 2,400 gold, and this is for
That's
all
cheap.
classes, by the way.
All classes.
20% cooldown reduction,
Lot of
45
CDR,
physical
man.
protection, 45
Can you have
magical
multiple of these
protection.
items?
And after casting your ultimate ability, you gain a large shield equal to your protections for 5 seconds. When this shield breaks, either by timing out or being depleted, it explodes and deals magical damage equal to 50% of the shield's health, and slowing targets for 25% for 3 seconds. This can only trigger once every 45 seconds. So this is a catch-all for everybody, so if you do end up building tank on whatever character you're on, you will get the shield effect that is based off your protections. So for me, it's like you want to build more protections to make this useful.
Yes, so this is the focus item towards the kind of frontline tank role. It is
That's
available
so
in all
good.
classes, and you'll know all classes essentially have 2 items you can build,
20%
Pride Win and whatever was specific to their class.
CDR with
and this innately works
It's
off
cheap.
trying to be the
45
frontline
protections
tank. The
each,
more you build defensive,
2400?
the more you play tank character and have higher base
This
stats.
is a cheap
that'll all
item to
influence
get. That
that
is just
shield's
good.
health and ability to deal damage. And of
Honestly.
course, shield health, it becomes more effective the more protections you've built anyway. So there's a lot of synergy towards building and optimizing this kind of passive effect.
Clumsy, can I double stack these items then? Is that what Pond's just telling me there? That I can buy 2 of these
You know,
items?
if you want to be an Athena and you want Pride Win and you want
can.
Stack Mirrodin, that sounds
You
pretty-
can double
It sounds
stack
unique.
them.
Possibly limit
Right.
these to 1 per god. Last week.
Athena double taunt just came into my
Exactly.
head.
You ulti in, you have Pride Win, so you're gonna have that shield around you. You taunt them towards you, the shield depletes, you explode, you slow them, you taunt them again. No.
While we're in game, can we take a look at the items real quick? Can we take a look at the tree?
We can
And,
try
Pon-
to if
If it doesn't,
Clumsy's...
can we? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little
okay.
look at it.
It's okay. We're a little zoomed out, but and we can only see which ones per class we are. But there you can see, fail not the bow.
Yeah.
The bow of Tristan.
Yep.
Sir Tristan said to never miss, followed by Erendite, which is
Lancelot sword.
I know that
which
one.
is legendary. Why?
Because it is
Lancelot had it.
sword.
You gotta have said to never miss. You gotta have a little catchphrase, Pun.
Erendite was actually one of those items that was like, it's Lancelot's sword, and that's pretty much all it was.
All right. Well,
But
it's
it's still cool.
especially sharp.
Lancelot's
He
important.
still made Marion with it. That's all you got to say.
Oh,
Big man.
man. So you
And then
can
we
have your
the
class
Staff of Mirrodin,
item
which is
plus the
Merlin's
defense
ancient
one,
Celtic source
because you
of
can't build the
power.
one for
Yeah,
the other
right.
'Cause
classes.
the god has
So you can have
earlier
2
roots
tops.
even than Arthurian.
Yeah, but
and
it
then
focuses-
finally we have
We have Pride Win, which is King Arthur's shield. So this is the
man.
shield he uses to defend Camelot. It's the shield that he uses to defend his kingdom.
That's
It's so
such a
OP, he
good
can't have it in the
item
game
to like
from the start
grab
of the game.
randomly.
He can
too.
only get
Think about
Excalibur.
it,
He
like,
can't have 2 artifacts.
That's
just
fair.
as an item,
That's
like
fair. He had too many
20%
already.
CDR.
Well, that's it for the new item
Like
tree.
that's even
There
like
is
as a
still plenty of
rando
other item
defense
discussion
item that
to
you
go
throw into a
onto
build as
now.
like a 5th,
And we've
6th
got
item
another
could be
item to actually
so
speak about
strong,
straight
regardless
away,
of
which is
anything
going to be
else.
Contagion. Is the very first item that I'm going to be talking about. Is this the only other new item being introduced today?
Correct.
Another
This is
new
the only
item.
other new item.
And it's
Oh, wow.
Contagion.
Another new
Here's
item.
the stats for it. You'll
Wow.
recognize a lot of this all of a sudden. This builds out of the silver breastplate, I should say. It costs 2,050 gold, 60 physical
Physical
protection, 100
anti-heal, I
health,
bet.
250 mana.
I bet.
15
They're
MP5,
finally doing it.
And the aura, which is the most important thing of Contagion. Enemy gods within 55 units have their healing reduced by 25%.
Yep.
This does not stack with Pestilence.
Yep.
So as you can tell, this is physical Pestilence, boys and girls.
There it is.
Correct.
yes.
This is something
Finally.
people have wanted for a while.
Finally
For quite a bit
introduced
of time.
it.
We'll see if they actually buy it.
Why have people been asking for
There it
this,
is.
AJ? What's the main reason
The
for
main reason people ask for this is for early game solo lane countering. That's the most common.
That actually hurts
Of
healers
course,
a
it has
lot.
a lot of applications in
Another
other game modes when
anti-heal
you
item
end
in the
up against
game
healer
hurts
stack comp.
healers a lot.
Yeah, if you want to play a warrior support as well, you know, that'll help out.
Anytime
some
you
sort
add
of
new
lanes.
anti-heal, that
Certain
hurts
duo
healers.
laners might
So.
pick this up, but we focused mostly on the solo lane application to help you counter those high sustain solo laners or guardians in solo lane. And what this will we've actually tuned it a little bit differently than Pestilence for that reason. So you can rush it a little bit earlier, we have made this one slightly cheaper, slightly lower stats than Pestilence, but Pestilence has this. They have the same passive. So by all accounts, they are the exact same passive. You can't stack them, but you can buy one of each on 2 different gods and do more anti-healing in a larger area, but you cannot increase. So we're not increasing the cap amount of healing reduction in the game with this item.
Gotcha.
So healers out there,
They're
we're
still
not
okay.
this is not actually lowering the amount of healing you can get total in the game
but-
because it's the same as
All right.
Pestilence. It's just giving more options and possibly a larger area.
The main thing to mention there then is the only real
Right.
difference is that if you've got a Pestilence and a Contagion on the front line together on 2 different characters, you're only getting the effect of one and not both
Correct.
at the same time.
Correct.
And
It's
that's
the
also
same
for
as
you
having
guys at
2
home
Pestilence.
building this. There's no
Yep.
point building both of them on your
fine.
character because you're only going to get the debuff from one.
Let's see. There is applications if you split up.
Yeah.
If Pon's got Pestilence, I've got Contagion. We chase off different people. Now
To
we're
be
still
fair,
anti-healing.
if you
of
both
them,
had Pestilence,
things like
it would do
Yeah,
that
they've
right
got
now
not
anyway.
just straight up stack like that.
They've got
So,
very
yeah.
different
know.
stat priorities. You know, Pestilence obviously has a lot of magical protections and health, so it's going to be good for different reasons. So
Generally, don't build both on the same god.
Yes.
But let's move on then to the item trees and what we're
All
going to
right.
be seeing changing in the item
those
trees
are
in this
a lot
mid-season
of
update.
items.
First thing to talk about, it looks like we
Wow.
got a lot of magical items first of all.
And now we're
Guys,
back.
what's
That's
been the main
before the
goal
item
during
balance.
mid-season
That's just
update
new
with this?
stuff.
We're going to go through categories
Big
in the
patch.
items instead of alphabetical,
Yeah.
and you're going to see that reflected on the patch notes.
I've got rings and...
Just to make sure that that's intentional.
Right.
First, we're going to start with magical items, specifically mage ADCs.
Yes. Magical ADCs have
They
been
nerfing 'em?
a bit more prevalent than they have been previously.
Yep.
A lot of the kind of competitive level play, Freya has been very popular, Kronos has been really popular. They've been pushing out other hunter characters, and we think a lot of that has to just deal with the core efficiency of the ring tree itself, specifically
The
demonic
ring tree
grip
is
and
very
hastened
strong.
ring.
Okay.
So you're going to see adjustments towards those items.
And let's have a quick look at those then. Demonic Grip, the cost is going to go up for this item. It was 2,150 gold. It's now going to be 2,300.
Okay.
So 150 gold increase there, just to try and slow that down. And then Hasten Ring as well have increased the cost of this item. It was 2,300
wow.
gold. This is a large
That's
jump.
a thick
to
nerf.
2,700 gold for Hasten Ring. But there is an increase to the magical power this provides. It was 50. That's going to go up to 70. I guess part of that is because of the cost increase too.
That's a thick nerf,
So it's
though.
being more pivoted towards a luxury item.
Right.
Haste itself is just a very powerful effect. It breaks
very,
the core
very good
rules of
effect.
Smite with regards to basic attacks. When you basic attack, you slow down, which makes you move slower, makes you more vulnerable, and haste just breaks that. And we've seen that over the course of the game's
that's a
lifetime,
good
that
nerf.
haste
That's a
is
good
just
nerf.
a very powerful effect. And so to
haste
kind
ring
of
is
make
so
sure that
good.
players can still have access to this, but it isn't so prevalent and easy to rush, we're moving the cost up, but also making the stats more towards that luxury tier of item. So when you do want to build into it,
Those
you
are two
can,
good nerfs.
but you
Two good
can't,
nerfs.
for example, Freya rush it and box really efficiently in lane super early on. You have to invest a lot more gold towards it.
And the mages are still being looked at in terms of the hunter position of being able to be playing that dual lane AJ going forward.
Of course, we just want strong variance, right? We want strong differentiation. We want mages and hunters to both be viable. It looks like right now, mage ADCs, especially in the competitive meta, as we've referenced to, are dominating. Olarun, also new mage ADC added to the game recently. He's more balanced than Kronos and Freya.
Yes, he
Yeah,
is.
he probably doesn't also use Hasten Ring that effectively, so that doesn't affect
He
him.
is, in
Demonic
fact,
Grip will
way
definitely be
more
useful.
balanced.
So we're going to keep an eye out on mage ADCs going forward. These were the
Most
most
definitely.
direct, clear changes we saw.
Yep.
Demonic Grip really just needs to be balanced to other early penetration items, and Haste just needs to be tuned towards a luxury
Cool.
item.
I
We
like
have
it.
a couple other ideas and directions. We have some God balance that's going to adjust that, so we'll be keeping a close eye on
I'm
this.
happy about
and
both
also, as
those
we're going to get
changes
to later
so
today,
far.
we're also going to be buffing a few hunter items.
Okay, well, let's move on with a couple of magical items first of all. We're
Hunters
going to come over
are
the mid lane a little
strong
bit
right
more.
now
So,
in
well,
ranked.
could flex a few places. Doomorb is on the list here.
buffs could be
Doomorb with
interesting.
Doomorb, and it's going to see a reduced
Oh.
magical power per stack from 6 to 4, but an increased base magical power increase from 135 to 145. This is quite a potent item just in terms of magical power now, then, with what we're seeing out of this.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's one
But
of the
stacks
highest
are going down.
for magical power, I think, outside of like Rod of Tahuti. It's, you know, it's borderline there. It's one of the most expensive mage items as well.
Okay.
We wanted to move a little bit from
Just
the
a little
stacking component
shift.
because those stacks, you know, they're temporary with the movement speed. You only get them from time to time when you're killing camps or you're assisting with god kills or getting god kills yourself. But moving a little bit to the base allows you to actually just get a little bit more power up front from the item. We've done a lot of shifting with Doomorb, you know, with its price being changed from 3,200 to 3,000.
That's
And
fine.
there's a lot of people kind of comparing it to Rod of Tahuti, comparing it to Shaman's Ring.
actually
we want
helps,
to bring it a little bit more in line, but we also know that the movement speed it
junglers that wanna
provides is a
pick up
really
Doomorb.
strong stat
Oh,
by
definitely.
itself. So we want to just do it, you know, a little
So-
bit by bit to make sure it's not going to be over the top.
Okay, and that's it for
Kitty might
Doomorb.
clear
We'll
a
move on
jungle
to
camp
Spear of
and then go for a
Desolation next
gank
up,
in the
which is
lane
the
or something,
passive
so-
has been changed from 1 second to 2 seconds. I've got down here. So it was only effective for 1
That's
second. It's now gonna be
actually
2 is the only real difference.
a little
just
spice.
makes it a little bit easier
That's-
to use.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
just was. It's a pretty strong item in regards to like
is
the pen the cooldown
very
provides, but there's other
interesting.
pen options that are kind of outshining it. There's other cooldown options that
2
can outshine
seconds
it,
on
and
the
so we just want to
passive.
move it
If
a
you
bit
could
more in the
utilize that
direction of
properly-
being more viable, especially for those characters with very low cooldown abilities. When they get a kill, they can just immediately refresh it and use it very
Like a
quickly.
Hebo?
This item will be a stronger pickup for them.
Spirit Magus was almost causing some problems earlier this year, where people were considering mage is not even viable unless they worked really well with Spear of Magus.
Right.
So we wanted to add just a little bit back to the non-Spear of Magus
I like
mages.
it. I like it a
This is
lot.
going to help them.
Okay, we'll see how that works out
Okay.
with Spirit of Desolation. Next up on
Plus
the list is
double
Ethereal stuff
casting.
here. Decrease the cost of this item. It was 2,600 gold. It's now going to be 2,500
Uh-huh.
gold. But we've also increased the max health stolen. It was 5% to 6%, so it's up 1% and down
Okay.
100 gold. Just a small touch here, gents.
I'm still convinced this item is sleeper
Yeah,
OP.
we see this picked a few times.
Crazy good. But we'll see. It's we're of course a common theme through these midseason
That's
patches. We're targeting some of
interesting.
the least purchased items in the entire game.
Sure. And I think what sometimes when we talk
100
about
gold
sleeper
and
items, most of the
1%,
times,
that can
what
make a
happens is,
big
like, it's just hard to
difference
fit
on
them
an
in builds
item like
sometimes, and that's
Yes.
what you're trying to aim for here.
And a few of these that we're adjusting
That
today,
can make
they're
a
still
big
going to be hard to
difference.
fit and build, but some of the trade-offs are there. People just have a hard time giving up the things they're used to.
Yeah, sure.
It's,
Cool
got
down.
it's a
That's
very niche item as
interesting.
well because you usually see it on kind of the tanky bruiser mages as well. You
that
know, the
could be
Jean
worth.
Quays, the Jormungandrs. We saw it in Athena and Geb solo before playing the SPL. So it's
Yeah.
already got a really unique place
Okay.
in the meta that we think just bringing a little bit more attention to it, but we don't
Yeah,
want
and
to
it
drive
stacks
overboard
3
because we don't want it to be
times,
like
yeah.
Warlock
So
staff back in the
potentially
beginning where
18%.
everyone got this and it just felt really frustrating. So just a little few tweaks.
That's fair. Okay, well, that's it for
like
major,
that tweak.
major items for the time being. But now we're on to what looks more like mobility more than anything else here.
we
We've already
nerfing
had a little look
movements?
at the Hasten Ring, and that's going to be
Hopefully.
taken a nerf. Well, Hasten Katana is also going to get changed as well this patch. That's going to have a cost increase as well. It's up from 2,300 gold. It's now going to cost you 2,500
good
gold
nerf.
going forward for that.
Are they
It's just the
buffing it,
same
though?
pattern here, Pon. Mobility is OP.
Oh,
It's a very
well,
similar
that's a big nerf.
kind of state
Who would've
of
Mobility
situation with
OP.
Hasten Ring. Hasten Katana, the haste effect is just very potent. We've also seen the rise of those in-hand assassins. Arachne, I think nobody really doubts anymore that Arachne is really strong, and she's not even the best case for Hasten Katana. Bakasura, people know, is really, really potent, especially in like the
Kali.
rank scene. Kali is very potent. And so we just want to make sure that when people rush these
Good.
kind of items,
Get rid of all
there's
these
a bit
OP
of that
hasten
trade-off
effects.
between,
OP.
oh, I could have maybe gone Atalanta's bow to get the more movement speed, or I could have started rushing my chin a bit
Atalanta's
earlier.
bow is
If
now
that gold is going to set to a Hasten Katana. It kind of just makes
way
it so that
better
when
than
they rush
Katana,
this and get
unless they nerf
online,
it too.
they aren't so overbearing for the
It's going to be
second it
so
comes
much
online.
cheaper
fair.
than Katana.
All
for the
basic
stats.
attack assassins are at the top of the performance charts right now. We were just going over Kali as a sleeper pick.
Yeah.
Arachne is actually statistically the strongest god in the game still, if you don't believe it's true. So this is a little nerf to them
She's
as
very
a whole.
strong.
Should help balance out assassins in general, bring up some more of those non-basic attack, more ability-focused assassins and their viability as well.
Okay, next up then is Talaria boots as we stay in the mobility
Nerf 'em.
section. Decreased physical power of Talaria boots is going to go
Yeah.
down. It was 20, it's down to
Yeah, that's
15
right.
physical power
Get
now.
rid of it.
Just for Talaria boots, not for the
Yes.
others?
Oh.
This is all about trade-offs.
Okay.
We know that there's been a lot of rumblings about movement speed. Some of the rumblings of these builds are a little more meme than they are serious. Talaria's, though, is becoming the most popular choice for junglers. And it's because there's no trade-off. They're getting virtually the same amount of power, but way more movement speed. That's very strong. So we're bringing that power down to help differentiate them more from warrior Tabi.
5 physical
However,
power is
we
actually
don't see this
decent.
problem in the magical side at all. Travelers are still relatively unpopular, so we're going to leave travelers at the current state for now.
Okay, interesting.
But we might need to look into that item in a future case.
I mean, Talaria boots are
That's
pretty
good to know the
strong.
difference
But
between
mid
the two.
laner,
the
hunters
parallels,
picking it up.
although they're similar
junglers.
trees, they don't need to follow this exact same
So-
logic because the classes they're applied on have
Right.
such different applications.
Well, sticking
you
with the
know.
boot section
Until
as
Pon
well.
comes out with Jungle Athena on Traveler's Boots and wipes the whole
I
playtest.
have
already got
done a
Boombas.
jungle Athena.
He does it all the time. He
And
does
what
it all the
Pride
time.
win
Fine.
and-
He'll do it
Yeah,
to you
you
on
are.
live,
yeah.
too.
And
Watch
Let's
out.
do
Nerd
it.
yeah.
He'll get you.
Okay, we're moving on with the more mobility
like
here.
it.
Ninja
So far, so
Tabi
good in these
gonna get a
changes.
bit of love this patch as well. Increased
Good.
attack speed from Ninja
Nobody's
Tabi.
been buying
Was
it. People buy the
20%
Warriors
attack
weapon.
speed.
That's a thick
It's now gonna be
attack speed.
25%. That's a potent 5%
That's a
there,
lot.
Jack.
Now this is shifting into our whole set of hunter items.
Right.
So this
Okay.
is an important category for this midseason patch. I think based on our feedback, we feel like hunters are probably the class that people are feeling the least satisfied with
Loved.
right now. Yeah, they're feeling a hunter. I mean, with mage ADCs taking over, just a few hunters getting moved into mid lane.
Not Guardians,
a lot
huh?
of the ways the
I haven't
conquest
seen
meta
a
has been
Guardian in a
shifting.
ranked game in
People are feeling hunters
6
are not that
months.
impactful. We're seeing in live games the amount of people selecting the role is dropping. So what we're doing here is you're going to see a few buffs to unpopular hunter items as normal. We always want to
More
bring up
hunters
diversity.
for me,
But we're also
mid
going to
lane.
be buffing a few staple hunter items, core
Yeah,
hunter items,
yeah.
and that is intentional. That is to buff
Okay.
the class as a whole. It might look a little strange because it's not something we normally do.
Okay.
But we have the metrics and the feedback that support this
If
pretty
they
strongly
want
right
me to
now.
play more hunter
And
mid
we think it's going to have a really
with this
strong,
new crit
benefit to
item.
the whole class. It's going to bring more hunters into the viability
Okay.
section. It's going to give people more
I'm down.
flexibility, and it's going to make people feel better about playing that role.
Well,
I
you
already
mentioned
like
Ninja
'em.
Tabi there. I want to move on to Chins as well because Chins is the next one on this list. And
Don't
they kind of
buff-
fall in
don't
the same
buff
vein for me.
Chins. Don't-
Chin size is
don't
going to
buff
have the
Chins.
attack speed increase of this item as well from 15% to 20% as well. So both Ninja Tabi
Even
and
as
Chin's
somebody
getting
who
attack speed
really likes
increases.
hunters, don't
What's the
buff
reason for the attack
Chins.
speed increases?
Don't do that.
This goes in line with Age's messaging, where Chins is a pretty popular and core component for a lot of hunters. It's their answer towards a lot of the kind of tanky front lines that can go and threaten them. And we want to make sure that when they're in that situation,
Okay.
they feel strong, they feel impactful. If right now, even with these items, even though they are popularly purchased, they aren't feeling that impact. It means just that as a whole, the class is a bit undertuned wound feels a little bit underwhelming. So those core things being brought up should just make the class feel smoother overall. And then when they want to go target their build more towards specific item trees or specific synergies, then we can look at like different items and see about buffing those individual cases, or
If they're
those stat
nerfing
lines are
magical
overall
ADCs
strong, but
and
sure
buffing
the core
physical
is
hunters
intact
at the
and
same
strong is
time,
important for this patch.
You might see a lot of hunters on the
of
map.
this attack speed
A
on both
lot.
of these items.
Yeah.
For
So-
Ninja Tabby, what it's going to do is it's going to buff the hunters that already get Ninja Tabby, right? And it's also going to take a few hunters that are right on the line and can't really decide between Warrior and Ninja Tabby. It's going to give them a better choice between the two. A couple hunters will probably stay Warrior Tabby forever. That's the most popular item in the game, by the way. So people will stay just building that power for sure. But there's more options here, and when you get that natural attack speed a little easier through your core items, it gives you a little more flexibility in your build.
Well, I mean,
to
if you
branch out
get
into crit,
attack speed for a little bit more, if
penetration.
you just opt for the
And we're gonna go into
the
crit
attack
next.
speed boots,
Segway,
man.
look at him. It's also
I
like
mean,
this was going on. Wind Demon
all
is
of a
the next
sudden you
one
get more
on the
power
list here.
elsewhere.
And that's going to see a cost decrease. It was 2,600 gold. It's now going to be
Opens up the bill a
2,500
lot.
gold. So 100 gold off that item. Just to make it more attractive, that is it, guys?
A little easier to fit in builds, just to take the overall crit cost and lower it down a little bit,
That's
as
not-
well as
that's
to
not
give
that
this
big of a
item a
deal.
little bit more of a chance with a couple of the other options.
Hunters have a lot of luxury items with some pretty heavy costs, but Wind Demon and Poison Star, they weren't meant to be the ones that are right
that
up there.
big of a
So a
deal.
little bit of cost decrease, I think, will help it smooth out that.
So
power
I'm
curve.
thinking if you're going to get the new
next
hunter
on
item,
this
you
list
got
as
to pair
well
it
is
with like
gonna
a
be
death
Igfal.
breaker.
It's
So.
going to have a bit of a change in terms of cost again. The cost was 2,600 gold. That's going to go down to
pretty decent cost,
2,450 gold. So 150 gold off the top end of that item too. Igfal did go through a couple of iteration changes too, right? So we're just trying to work out the point of cost for that.
When we first released it, we had its price set a little bit high, so we wanted to go this patch. Same kind of
When
messaging
we
with
first
Wind Demon.
re-released the
Re-released.
Tier 3
Re-released its new version of Ichabod.
there was some initial reactions that people thought it was too strong, so we nerfed it really quickly, or even during PTS.
Almost
Yeah, I think it was
preemptively,
during
yeah,
PTS.
exactly.
during PTS, and then nobody bought it. So
It's a very niche
That's
application.
what
but it was
PTS does,
very,
AJ. Do you not
very
realize?
low.
So here we are, buffing it again.
Yeah.
But this is a unique passive. This gives hunters, like we said, they'll be able to
Interesting.
get a little bit more natural attack speed, so they'll
Yeah,
have a
that'll
little
be
more
interesting to
flexibility
see
in
if
their
people
build,
pick
pick up
that
a
up
new
again. I
passive.
mean, that 150 gold is
Yeah, it
Maybe
also
is
Silver
decent.
Branch will be getting really good with a little bit bonus
So-
attack speed in
And it
here.
also
Keep an
serves
eye
as
out on
a-
that. If you're concerned about overcapping attack speed in your build, we do
Yeah.
have you covered.
Yep. And this also serves as a nice counter for other characters with high attack
Alright.
speed.
Yeah,
which
it
is just a
helps
nice
with- against the
purpose.
ADC.
We haven't
mages,
even
too,
got
so
to.
it's
This
kind of
is just
another
item
touch point
changes,
there.
by the way,
They're
ladies and
both
gentlemen.
rings,
We have
and
all
Ichabod's
of the
always been
god
a good choice
changes.
to counter those.
All
ones.
of
So
it
a little
still
bit of
to
cost
come.
decrease will help that too.
Well,
Long
next up on the
patch
list
day.
is going to be Jade Emperor's Crown, and that's
Tank
gonna,
item time.
time onto tank items.
Oh, we
Yeah,
moved
I
on.
wasn't sure where this goes because it just like
Minus
read them
50
through them.
gold.
So Jade Emperor's Crown is next on the list. Reduced cost from 2,150 gold to 2,100, so 50 gold off, and also increased health from 100 to 150. So just a small little touch here.
Little tweak.
All right, a little love.
There's a couple of these items coming up for sure
This
that
item
they are really good.
It's gone through some metas where it's historically
Love.
really popular or not. Really, we have a lot of different aggressive defensive options for Guardians. You've got Voidstone and Jade
Okay,
Emperors.
that's
You've
not
got Heartward and Sov.
crazy.
We're trying to keep those always at that decision point where you really feel like they all could be viable, just kind of based on your personal preference or what your team comp needs, or who on the enemy team is carrying the most. So this is that type of item.
fine.
We're going to look at a couple of those here as we go through this
Okay.
section to make sure that this trade-off feels good and feels like Guardians have meaningful choices and aren't just pushed into the same aura Heartward Soft build every game.
Well, here's a little look at some of those as well. Runic Shield is the next one up. That's going to have a 50 health increase of that from 150
Runic
to
Shield is
200.
already a pretty good
And
item.
then after
actually.
that, we've also got Gauntlet of Thebes on here too.
right.
Decreased cost from 2,400 to 2,350, so 50 gold less, and increase the base health of this from 275 to 300. Very small touches
right.
there, but definitely the supports will like that.
Sure.
And Bulwark of Hope, that's also going to see a cost reduction from 2,400 to 2,300, 100 gold reduction there, and increased health from 200 to 250.
Just
so
the
50
little
health up on that
ittiest
too.
bittiest
Talisman of
touches.
Energy, the next one on this list, is passive duration increase from 8 seconds
That's
to 10
okay.
seconds. I guess that's just to make it a little bit more, available.
A
to
little
use
more
often.
flexible when you're actually using that passive.
Consistency.
And last but not least in the item section is going to be the Relic Dagger. It's going to see an increased relic cooldown
Now, that's a
reduction.
pretty big buff.
right.
Yeah,
From
that's
30
spicy.
seconds
That's a
to
pretty
40
big
seconds,
buff.
So an extra 10-second reduction. Surprised by that because I thought we saw quite a bit of Relic Dagger so far this year.
We're starting to see a little bit of it in SPL.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
Right.
No,
Nowhere else.
I definitely get that
No
concept.
one else is buying it.
That's
the
definitely
community always
interesting.
lags a month or so behind the SPL. If they keep doing it in SPL, people will start eventually picking it up. But
Eventually.
it's like I said before, it's about the meaningful choices.
That is
If you opt
interesting.
into this interesting, you got to buy different relics. You got to buy these teamfight relics. You got to be using them on cooldown. To make the most out of this item. We wanted to make sure this passive was
Blink, blink,
effective
blink,
in this
blink.
really cool
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
combo strategy that it brings.
More
in.
blinking.
So, across that patch,
I do enough
just
blinking
the
for all
item
of us,
section, we've
folks.
seen,
We don't
what,
need
4
any
new
lower
items,
blink
is it, or
cooldown.
5 new items,
Five
the
new
4 in
items
1
added.
tree.
You got
and
5 new
Contagion.
items. You got Mage ADC
Okay,
nerfs.
wow.
You got Hunter buffs. Guardian buffs.
That's
You
a
got a
lot.
of unpopular item buffs.
So mainly just a catch
That's a lot of item
Now we
changes.
move on to
At the end of the day,
better
what really
section, or
matters is those
more
new
detailed
items
section
that
this
we
patch,
saw,
I would
you know,
say,
like
this
that's
update, I
the
should say,
big
is the God section.
patch.
Guys, what was the
So-
main focal point of the gods in the mid-season patch for you guys?
Those
Mid-season,
items
we're always looking
change the
for
game.
meta shifts, and we're looking to solve problems.
So-
I believe the itemization changes is where we're going to get most of our meta shifts from. Of course, the god balance is impactful, but god balance still impacts one god, and then there's kind of a chain of events. Items impact everyone. They have very far-reaching.
they do.
So for gods, we're looking to solve problems. So you're going to see some meta nerfs here. You're going to see some top ban, top pick
Love it.
nerfs.
Love it.
You're going to see a few gods that are extremely unpopular and have had some, I don't know, maybe some clunkiness or feeling a little like they're missing the love, as Hinduman mentioned earlier.
okay.
We're going to be looking at a few of those, and we'll be looking at a couple of buffs in between that have different direct messaging, different problems being
Good.
solved.
Okay.
Always striving towards the
We'll
goal
see what
of
happens.
making as many gods in the game feel good to play and feel viable.
Now, I do think they're in alphabetical order from a
These
just a
ones are.
quick
Yes,
scan
for
through.
gods,
So
we are not in categories. We're going the old school.
if you
This is-
don't hear your god at his first letter of his name, then he's probably not getting changed this patch.
Definitely pay
All right.
attention because there's some spicy stuff intertwined between all of the other balance for
And we'll
sure.
start off with a Mosen Carb is
That's
the
a
first
nerf.
one. AMC.
That's a nerf.
He's going to see a couple of changes here. Bees, we're going to be decreasing the base damage of bees from 9 to 5. What a way to make
Per
a
tick.
living.
Yeah, that's per tick.
Per tick,
Per tick, sorry.
which is pretty
What?
big.
I just
now.
got excited by
What
9
a way to
five.
make a
Yeah.
living.
9 to 5,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a way.
And then
That's our fault. We should put the per tick there.
And then Swarm as well, decreased base damage from 60 to 280 will now be 60 to 260, so a top end small
right.
change there. We've also decreased the physical power scaling from 80% to 70%. So small touches to AMC, he has been quite potent lately.
Yeah, out of the hunters we talked about, you know,
This
while
is a-
there's
this is a meta.
a lot of mage
Still
ADCs,
on the
AMC
smaller
has
side
been,
of the nerf.
you know, really prevalent in both the duo lane as well as the mid lane. He's just one that hasn't fallen off at all, and a lot of that comes down to his early game pressure and his boxing potential. Even though he
That'll
doesn't
still be
actually have
good.
movement ability, and Hive kind of helps him throughout, he still does really well at almost all points in the game. So here we're hitting his early game with bees, and we're hitting his late game with a swarm change.
Okay. We'll see how that works out for AMC. Next
Wasn't
on this
bad.
list is Anher. Some interesting
Pretty good,
changes around
pretty
here.
decent
First
nerf.
of all, shifting sands. We're going to increase the
Bluffing
damage buff from
Anher,
4
are
to
we?
20%. Will now be 8 to 20%. So definitely an early game buff for
Okay.
shifting sands. Not only that, though, Impale, we've reduced the pre-fire time. It was 0.2. It's now going to be 0.17. So a 0.03 difference. Yes, I can do math sometimes.
small.
Which will match his animation, is what it says here.
Yeah.
Is that just makes it
Yeah,
feel a little
when
bit better?
when he threw, he'd like throw, and then a spear would appear in front of him and go. Now it feels more like as he's throwing, at the point where he'd let go of the spear appears and goes. It's very minor.
slight
Just a
adjustment.
feel.
But
Well, you'll
it's a
you'll
yeah.
definitely feel it if you're an on-herb main.
visual. It's a visual clarity.
And speaking of feels as well, looks like Desert
Interesting,
Fury
okay.
with added targeter effects while channeling this ability. Does that make it a little bit better for firing that Desert Fury off and feel like he's going to
Yeah,
hit?
there's a lot of different shots and some pretty different timings
Okay.
between them. You know, just it's a little bit delayed. So now actually
Interesting.
being able to see which direction you're gonna be facing with that ability, it will help out a little bit.
A lot of quality of life,
right,
but a
we'll
bit of a
see.
buff to that shifting sands. Why the buff to the shifting sands?
It's one of
We'll
those things
see.
that we noticed when we did the Aphrodite change, where it was 4 to 20% damage increase to your link target. It's one of those things where at the early stage of the game, you already aren't doing that much damage, and so 4% increase on already not that much damage is just you don't really feel it. Having access to a little bit of a higher percentage earlier on
Those- I
helps
mean,
you
those are still
feel
okay
that part of the
changes.
ability
We'll see how it
earlier,
goes.
so you know that that's a thing that you need
mostly
to continue
quality of life
working
stuff.
towards and using as
More
the game
and her
progresses.
support.
Gotcha. It still gets to the same point late game as well, though, in terms of the same 20%.
And we also added 5 units of range to that ability.
Yes.
That's
Oh, I didn't
correct,
miss that.
right?
Yeah,
I
you can actually-
apologize.
But that is
5
a pretty,
extra range? That's pretty
a
good.
pretty impactful change
That's
as well.
it
That'll
is.
let you zone
Sorry.
out people a little further to help you catch people.
That's
more
a
important.
buff.
Works really well with impale combos because it gives you a little bit more space to work with.
Yeah.
So On her getting a
some buff.
combination of actual buffs and quality of life adjustments.
All right, good changes for Anher. Moving on
I'm down.
to the next A-God, and it's also another hunter, Apollo, on the list here.
No, don't.
First up is Audacity. Each damaging ability now adds 2 stacks of Audacity for each enemy God hit. The moves still adds 1 stack of Audacity for hitting enemy minions.
Right.
Is what it says here. So if you hit a God, you're going to get 2 stacks off that as well. So dashing in, you could potentially get your Audacity passive up a little bit
Or
quicker.
your one or your ultimate. Each.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you
That's
land all
a
hits on your ultimate, you're going to be
big
getting your Audacity
buff
passive almost
to his
instantly.
passive.
When we
Wow.
talked teased about
Obviously, it's in
Apollo
game
a
as
little
well.
bit.
Here you go.
Exactly, we're going to see it here. And
Wow.
one of the biggest things we talked about for Apollo is that his passive, while it's
That's
fun,
sick.
it's hard to always play around it, right? You get it
Sure.
up and then you use it. If you're an experienced player, you'll dash.
Apollo
into
is
the
my
minion wave to
number
try and
one
get a little
win
bit
rate
faster.
god in ranked.
But by adding Audacity, increasing mechanics to all of his abilities, his damaging abilities, which I think is important,
Yeah.
because that means your Mez is not going to be actually getting you any Audacity stacks.
right.
It means that he'll be
Okay,
getting
that's
access to that increased
pretty
attack.
good.
It just feels like for the casual player that's trying to get to grips with Apollo, it's going to be a little bit more effective to play him.
OP.
But at the same time, for the high-end Apollo
You're gonna be
player,
able to make use
they're
of
going to
that,
feel a potent
for
buff
sure.
here.
And
And to
also-
play around this.
It helps abilities feel a bit more impactful. Often, especially late game hunters, where your auto
Yeah,
attacks
that's
feels
good.
like the most important thing that you're going to be doing.
That's really
Casting
good.
an ability often takes time away from
That's a
that.
huge
And now
buff.
this actually gives you incentive. If you're in the middle of a team fight, your passives just dropped. You have your one. It is worth you casting your one again, trying to hit as many gods as you can to get your passive back up as quick as you can.
Now, the other thing about Apollo as well is we're going to be buffing the moves, his third ability. They increase the duration of the buff and debuff from this effect. It was 2 seconds. It's now going to go up to 3 seconds here, and that's just going to be an additional quality of life thing.
can't
Yourself
wait
and
to crit
allies
you
will now
with
be
my Apollo,
moving
dude.
faster an extra second, and enemies hit
wait.
will be
My
going slower
40%
for an extra
This
second.
helps his
One
kit flow so
item.
much better. These
I'm gonna
gameplay demos
ult
of
you,
him
I'm
ulting
gonna
down,
land,
just
when
going
I
from
land,
0
I'm
to
gonna have
full
40%
stacks with his
crit
passive.
chance.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Very, very useful.
This is going to
So
make the god feel way more consistent, give
so
you a lot
beautiful.
more
And
control.
I'm gonna get 50
if you're hitting
power.
your abilities and paying attention to that
And I don't
passive,
need the
you're gonna be
attack
doing a
speed
lot more
because
damage.
of my passive.
Apollo players unite. Thanks for that one, Caps in game. We'll move on then to Ares, and Ares is going to get a buff this patch as well.
I
Not
can't
ready yet.
wait.
Searing Flames. This ability now deals 5% max health per tick to non-boss minions. Only at all ranks. Sorry.
Only.
I
Yeah,
was,
that's
it
a
was
weird-
the,
that's
it was
my
the
fault.
way that it's
Yeah,
also.
we should have written that
It
down.
still deals 1, 1, 2, 2, 3%
That's
to
so
gods as you
much-
rank
is
this
that
up.
a ton
So
of lane
5%
clear?
max health
Is that
to
a ton?
anything in the jungle, so it helps with clear, right?
Jungle, minions, and
lane
lane.
minions too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
This
It's
is
just
just
not
direct-
fire giants and large bosses, right?
Because
That's what I was thinking
Because
about.
5% would be a
Yeah.
little bit much.
So this ability does base damage and percent health. We're just buffing the percent health to minions
That
only.
Okay.
seems
So
really
this is a
good.
direct buff to conquest Ares.
Clearing lane.
That seems
Ares.
really
Correct.
good.
Doing lane and just
And-
going off to do back camps and stuff. I found that pretty difficult myself when I was
That
playing it.
is
trust me.
really exciting to me.
You don't do back cabs. That's what happens.
I'm
I
a
don't
big,
need
I'm
to
a
be
big fan of Ares, but
investigated.
he is really difficult to play in Conquest because of these,
Sure.
because this poor clear. So we did
Not
this a
poor
little bit with
clear
his chains,
anymore
and
if he's
that helped
doing
him a little bit,
5%
but
per
we still
tick.
have not seen much Ares in Conquest. Very, very little actually. So we're pushing that envelope just a little further. It's very exciting
Jungle
change.
Ares,
After
ladies
Ares,
and
then we'll
gentlemen.
move straight on to Chak. Yes, that's a C for you guys at home playing along. Torrent decreased cooldown from 15 seconds to 13 seconds, so that'll be up a little bit more often. And Stormcall, the knockback from this effect now knocks enemies players straight up
that's nice.
instead of away. That's a big
That's
change.
a buff.
Big
That's a
change.
big buff.
Because before it was
Big
kind of
buff.
used as a escape
Yeah, it's
situation, but
technically a
now
knockup, but a knockup that preserves momentum. Now it's going to be a knock straight up, so you're always going
Good
to
buff.
be staying in the same place after that ultimate.
I think everyone
Last
kind
people
of
to
agrees that
follow
Chuck
up
is like
really easy.
solidly okay. It has been for a long
He
time.
is
and never
solidly
really
okay.
been fantastic, and we've been trying to add
He
ways
is.
to
It's
make
exactly
him
what he is.
a desirable pick. And one problem is that his ultimate is strong.
It is
but
strong.
it always tends to knock people away. It actually tends to save enemies. They're all just fleeing in different directions. He doesn't get to do this like good engagement play with his team.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they're knocked straight up, that's going to set up his team way
That's a good
better. So
change.
they're going to get knocked
Plus the
straight up.
cooldown
and they're
on
still
top
going to
of that.
stay
They're still
silenced.
silenced, yeah.
And it does a good bit of damage. So this is going to help Chalk's late game team fight, which is normally when he really drops off. Like he's a pretty strong laner, and unless he shows up really fed, his late game is kind of underwhelming. So this is going to really help his late game team fight and help make Chalk a core asset in your Conquest team comps.
And the other thing we mentioned there real quick as well was Torrent cooldown down 2 seconds, so you can spin a little bit quicker and maybe get yourself some extra damage protections and escapability.
Right.
Erlang Shen is the next one on the list, and that's going to be spot
Don't buff
weakness.
him.
It looks
Nerf
like a bit of a
him.
nerf for the boy Erlang, and I think
There
we needed it, to
we
be honest.
go.
Decreased base damage from 25
10
to
at the start
85
at
will now
level
be
1 is
15
really
to
nice. That's a pretty
75.
big nerf.
That's actually quite heavy, boys. How come so heavy?
Put this in the meta
pretty
nerf
big.
category.
Okay.
Erlang
Yes,
Shen,
meta
top
nerf.
pick, top ban, top win. across the board right now. This god is doing really well. And one of
Very
his
strong.
issues is that he's a little too good at everything.
Yeah, his ability to tank, his ability to deal damage is just really high. He doesn't have to sacrifice much to deal that damage, and part of that is due to spot weaknesses based damage.
Gotcha.
Especially at early ranks in the
I
jungle,
concur.
you can gank really aggressively. You can build more defensive, and it's really hard for anyone to counter gank you. And it's really hard for anyone to push Erlang Shen off them if
Finally.
he's on them. And so this will make Erlang Shen
About
players have
time
to
we got
determine a
Erlang
little bit more: do I want to focus on tankiness and sacrifice some damage, or do I really want to commit to that damage build?
Okay, well that's it for Erlang Shen. We'll move on then to Fafnir. Next god on this list, and it looks like a bit of love for the
This'll
boy
be
Fafnir
interesting
here, I
to see what you
think.
got.
It's a shift.
It's a shift,
yeah.
sorry. I've not read these, so I'm just like going through them like, okay. Curse Strength, increased width of this ability. That's the hammer, by the way. Increased the width of this ability from 6
little
units
bit
to
easier to
7.
hit.
So it should be a little bit easier
Just
to
a
hit
bit.
this.
Okay.
And clear creeps with 2. And Coerce, decreased attack speed buff. It was 15 to 35. Will now be 10% to 30%. And decreased bonus damage from 5 to 25% will now be 4 to 20%. So it is
That's
a
a
shift.
pretty
He's like,
significant
he loses a bit of his
nerf,
attack speed and power buff
actually.
that he's getting from Coerce, but gets to hit his hammer
I
a little bit more
mean,
often.
If you
Exactly.
were a
Yeah.
top
This
end player
god
not
is,
missing your hammers,
popular
then that's a
SPL
huge nerf.
and nowhere else.
So.
And it's because the SPL players are good at using that coerce. We're trying to help even him out a little bit more, trying to give him more
Definitely a
widespread
nerf.
application to more players. So we want to make Curse Strength just a little bit more consistent. It is a slight change, but it'll matter. It will help.
Yeah.
It'll help him clear. It'll help him secure.
It also affects both forms, of course. So they're now going to be
right,
the
the
exact
dragon
same
and
way.
the dwarf.
Right, so Dragonform will also have a bit
It'll
of
help
That's-
him lock down
that's a
enemies so
nerf.
his teammates can secure those kills.
That's a confirmed
But
nerf.
Coerce is just an extremely potent team
Yes.
effect.
It's definitely a
So
high-end
we want to
player
be
nerf,
careful
so.
buffing Fafnir because even though he's really, really struggling in
Definitely.
casuals, we've never been able to buff because SPL players are so good with him. He's a very high skill cap character.
Understand, yeah.
So we're just trying to bring down that SPL focus just a little bit.
And you may
Next
see
up-
some mixed messaging on the bonus damage because we just did the change to on her.
Yeah.
Where this one is also the 4 to 20.
Yeah.
This one's a bit different just because that he gets attack speed buff, so you already feel the ability effect, and it's also team wide in the dragon form.
You're
and
just-
that
right,
team
you're
wide
hitting
effect.
You're
multiple
just getting
people.
ahead of the flare boots in the world.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Yes.
now. I know what Pompon's doing. Always
So
thinking.
it's a bit different of a situation. Context matters.
Freya next on the list, and Freya's definitely been a talked about god for the last billion years
She
since
getting
release.
nerfed? Yeah.
So we'll see what we're doing to her
Since
this week. And
release
this
on
week is going to be
Freya.
Aurora Blade. Decreased range basic damage from 16 to 60 is now going to be 1 to 40, and increased ranged scaling from 10% to 15%. Break it down real quick.
Early game, that base power makes her incredibly efficient, especially when she gets a single attack speed online.
Yep.
Hastened Ring was that often use case, and it just made it her very, very difficult to box, even though she does clear the way
She
really
just get
aggressively.
nerfed into the
when you
floor?
did try and actually box her, she also won the box trade. This will make her much more fair to fight against, and then
Did
that
they literally
extra
just
scaling
put
makes
her into the
more
ground?
towards the late game. I believe late game when you have about 600 power, you hit about
One.
15 to 20 harder. So that's kind of like the level of change that you're going to see between Aurora Blades early game versus late game.
So weaker, early,
This
stronger,
is a
late.
15 damage per shot
Yes.
nerf
Right.
in the early game. It's going to big slow down
That's
her
a
early game. That's what
huge
has been her
nerf,
major problem here. We know we've been messing with Freya for a really long time.
That's a
We're feeling really
huge
good about
nerf.
how she's going to feel after this change.
I mean, this couple with Demonic Grip and Hastened Ring changes for sure.
Yeah, should definitely bring her
Oh,
around
yeah,
a little bit more.
that's
Maybe
a
not be as
big,
frustrating
fat
for you all
Freya
at home.
nerf. Bye, Freya.
Next god on the list is Isis. Now, Isis has got a lot of changes here. What's the
don't
goals
you
with
dare
Isis
touch
in this
her.
patch, first of all?
Isis is getting widespread adjustments across her kit. This is one of those heavy balance adjustments where we're not necessarily reworking any abilities, but a lot of them being touched.
Okay.
We're trying to give Isis. We're trying to target her individual abilities
She
that
is
feel
also one of my
underwhelming
highest
and give them clear identities and
ranked winning
strengths,
gods.
as well as just buff the goddess in ways that she needs.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what we've done
Buff-
then. Funeral
buff my
rites,
best
first of all.
god.
The passive
Give me
increased range
double
of this.
spirit
It was
balls
30
and
units,
buff
it's
her at
gonna
the
be
same
40
time.
units, so a little bit wider there. Spirit Ball. You can now refire Spirit Ball. This ability at any point after firing it. This includes while under the effect of crowd control and also whilst dead. I really like that, guys. It seems a little bit OP in one sense, but at the same time, I can understand it's very frustrating that you couldn't necessarily cancel it
Yes!
early to get that stun or the damage.
It also was a little bit confusing because her ultimate had these rules already in place, so while you're dead and you're
God,
controlled, you can already
yes!
cast Circle of Protections. Spirit Ball was kind of the one that you always wanted to be
yeah.
able to do the same thing. If you get stunned by an assassin jumping on you and you've just fired your Spirit Ball, you really want to be able to pop that again.
Good.
Also, coupled with this change, we remove the post fire from 0.1 to 0. This doesn't change anything with the animations, but will help a lot when you're trying to pop that Spirit Ball and
instant
refire
ones?
it right immediately and quickly.
Are
Yes.
they always the ones that sometimes like it pins
Thank
slightly off or something
you.
like that can always cause you a problem?
This is gonna make that feel better.
Cool, that's great. Spirit Ball, there's still more for Isis as well. Dispel Magic. Dispel Magic no longer provides a boost to magical protection. It instead provides a shield to Isis and nearby allies. The shield health will be 90 to 250 plus 40% increased potency per additional target hit. And this caps at 80% potency. 3 gods hit. So basically a shield for you
That's
and your teammates
broken!
around you once you use Dispel Magic.
Or the
instead,
target.
protections.
So it's around you or the target. It follows Baron Samdi's rules with the heal. So that way, if people are all diving on one person and you're far away, you're trying to keep that range, you can dispel magic that target. They all get the shield around you. Or if you just have teammates next
This
to you,
is
they also
insane!
get that
So
shield.
Baron rules, basically.
I-
You just
I
say,
already win every
That's if
game
you dispel
with her.
magic,
I've
but
never
still, we'll
lost.
move on to Circle of Protection next. Increase the base healing of Circle of Protection from 80 to 160 is now going to
God.
be 110 to
She's gonna be
190.
banned!
And also increase the mitigations obtained from 15 to 20% is now going to be 25%
God.
of all rank. 25% mitigations? That's great.
We had a lot of people telling us this ability
My
felt
God!
useless. It was either a
This is
close range
insane!
skill shot that you immediately detonated just to finish someone off, or something that everyone just got out of. So what we wanted to do was actually give it more applications
God.
to drop this in a siege scenario or a jungle boss scenario.
Oh,
and
man.
that
They want me
mitigation is
back
gonna
in
be
the
very
SPL
intense.
so
It's gonna
bad.
help her a
This
lot.
is
It's going to
crazy.
give her a key, distinct
Oh,
role
man.
of pick Isis when we want to.
A distinct
really
role of
secure
OP!
these systems.
She's broken!
Really excited to see
She's
how Isis plays out. now. So
broken!
quite a few changes there overall. Passive range increase, Spirit Ball usability a lot better and a lot
my
easier to
God.
potentially fire and connect. Dispel Magic. I think that was a change to Dispel Magic though, because like I feel like it's a nerf
Oh
to
my
it, but then we've buffed the
gosh.
ult at the same time. But it's better
It's a
to
shift.
read,
Well,
right?
we took away protections
Yeah.
and added shield, so it is a shift technically,
okay.
not a straight buff.
Yeah, in
Oh
situations where like
my
assassins gank you, it's going to
gosh.
always be a buff because it was only magical protections you're getting. But against other mages, especially also if you're boosting like your teammates that have a lot
don't
of magical
care.
protection already, that 30%.
You don't
boost
die
is
to other
even more.
mages as
So
Isis.
that
You
definitely
die to
is a
games.
shift. But in a lot of applications, it will help Isis.
And the rules for Dispel Magic, she would give the shield of the aura to the people in her funeral rites, but now
Yeah.
because that AoE is larger, you're going to be giving it to people a little bit further away than before.
Interesting. That's good to
Oh
see.
my
All right, I
God.
think we'll see a bit more ISIS.
is
Someone I'm
insane.
sick of seeing. Merlin is on the list here. Let's see what's happening
he
at
getting
Merlin this
nerfed?
week. He's joining the likes of Freya.
'Cause he's already
Eclipse,
kind of
decrease
not great
magical
right
power
now,
scaling
actually.
of
He's
the
actually
initial
getting
hit from
hit pretty
60%
hard.
to 55%.
Okay.
Decrease the magical power scaling of the tick damage from 10% to 8%.
Wow.
Blizzard increased the time to deploy of this ability from 0.5 to 0.7, and
Okay.
Elemental Mastery increased the cooldown of this ability. This is the ultimate switch stance,
Wow.
by the way, Elemental Mastery. Increased the cooldown of this. It was 28, scaling down to 20. It's now going to be 32, scaling down to
Those are
20
pretty
at the
decent
same
nerfs.
end. Blizzard is the one that I'm interested in there.
Pretty
Clumsy.
decent.
Yeah, so
nerfs.
each one has its targeted changes. Eclipse was one of the abilities that outside of the fire stance, which we nerfed last time, was doing a lot of damage. The AoE is pretty wide, so nerfing the damage on both the initial hit and the tick damage means that it doesn't feel as unfair when you're getting hit by it.
Fine by
Blizzard's
me.
one where it's always been a
Isis
frustration point.
crushes
A lot of people say, the slow and the damage is a
Crushes
little bit too high. But when
already.
you look at it in a vacuum, it's we've nerfed Frostbolt
She's
a lot
already
of times.
here
That's
to
actually
him
what's
here.
contributing
Now
to the
it's just like-
damage.
Sure.
But the time to deploy of Blizzard was actually the fastest deploy time of
So-
any of those in the game. So it's faster than even Anubis. Now
Really?
we've actually gone ahead and changed that and increased it by 0.2
All right.
seconds, which is going to be matching
If you
Anubis'
say
grasping
so.
hands. It's no longer the fastest deployable in the game, and that should make it feel a lot less frustrating. We're also a little bit worried that that Merlin mains or people who played him a lot might feel this change really viscerally.
Yeah.
They might really see that it's not hitting those people that they want to be hitting as often. But I think that, it's definitely an important change that'll feel less frustrating and
Whatever.
one that people get used to.
This is an impactful change. I know a lot of these small numbers.
Fine
I
by
might
me.
say this is tiny or whatever. 0.2 seconds on a warm up. That's enough time to dodge. That you're going to need to aim this ability differently. We've seen the stats in the feedback
Very
on Merlin. He
interesting.
needs some more intense changes. We intend to deliver them right.
All right.
Okay.
Works for
Well,
me, dude.
Also, last thing on The elemental mastery
Yeah,
change
yeah.
is actually going to be a pretty big one
Buffing
because
and hurt,
being able to
buffing
switch stance, I
Isis,
think most of this will affect
hunters,
conquest, and especially at the high level
mages.
where people were using the different stances, to clear back camps and mid wave and go
So-
back and switch constantly for using new abilities. By having less time to do that, that means you're going to be less reactive to every time someone tries to gank you or every time another wave comes up and you're stuck now in fire stance when you actually didn't want to be. But it's going to be scaling down to the same amount because we didn't want that to be a consistent feeling of frustration for the Merlin player himself. So maybe now cooldown will be a little bit more important for Merlin,
Just
or
more
really
early
just
game
like
decision
Whatever.
making, right? That's why
Exactly.
you kind of.
Bye-bye,
And
Merlin
make him a harder
mains.
character to play.
That's fair. I mean, he's pretty
Bye-bye.
tricky anyway with so many different stances. He just had too much damage. Merlin out of the way. Nemesis next on the list. And Nemesis is about retribution here. Increase the damage reflect of retribution from 30 to 50% of damage received. Is now going to be 50% at all
That's
ranks.
pretty big.
So 50% of all the damage you take is going to get reflected back.
So, a similar buff to what we
That's pretty
mentioned
big
before.
buff.
It was weird double scaling percentages in inconsistent ways. So we're just making that ability still going to scale heavily throughout the game because it's a percentage based ability.
Yep.
And because the rank of the shield increases, things like that.
I was going to say, but that's not all because we're also going to be increasing the healing
Oh,
of this retribution shield
that's
as well.
bigger
It did scale
buff.
up to 100%, but now it's going to be 100%.
That's
at
a
all
bigger
ranks.
buff.
So 50% of all the damage I take while my retribution shield is up, I'm going to heal
Wow.
for that much amount.
And this is 100% limited by the size of the shield.
Sure.
Yes,
Which
which is already
already
scales up.
increases per rank, so there was no reason to do this weird. It was really weird math.
Makes
so
sense.
Nemesis is just going to be a lot more consistent through the early
That's
game.
a big
Next
nem
up
buff.
then is Naja on the list, and it's the
Nerf,
Universal
nerf.
Ring Toss. The Universe Ring Toss?
Universe ring toss.
Is it
That
Universe? I thought it was
Universe.
I
Universal.
believe they're called the Universe rings out of his lore.
right.
But I don't know
also-
why.
I just thought it was
That's what they're
spelled
called.
Universe Ring Toss then increased damage reduction of subsequent
it.
hits on the same target from 25% to 35%.
Love it.
We've also
Nerf the
decreased
OP
the
ring.
slow from 25% to 12.5%.
Oh,
This effect can now stack up to 2 times. So if you get hit by
nice.
2 ring bounties now, that's what
That's a
telling
huge
me.
nerf.
Then you're going to still get the same slot.
Huge.
And so you're going to get less slowed if you get hit by only one ring bounce. You're going to take less damage if you get hit by multiple ring bounces. This god is really good at all-inning and killing someone. That's
Yep.
what it's as
a
a role as an
thick nerf.
assassin is. He's still getting played in these weird flex spots as a support, which is kind of fun. We
alright.
like flex, but it's frustrating and overbearing with this slow and heavily slowing and damaging ability on assassin. So tuning this more towards an assassin style numbers for this type of effect.
I think that's fair. You know, you get more slow, but
Love
you
it.
do less damage. But if
Love
you
it.
hit once, you're going to get a smaller slow, but more damage.
Yep.
Okay.
Screw that.
That's it for Naja. The next on the list is someone that we're going to have to talk a little bit more about.
Okay.
I
What
know
are we talking about?
the guys in the
It's
set
about
already
time.
Yeah, I mean,
repositioned
I'm just-
themselves.
yeah.
Nike. Nike.
here we
This
go.
god, since creation, has been one of the most OP gods in the game, and no one talks about it, AJ,
Marcus, where
and
are
no
you?
one plays her.
It's crazy. It is interesting. Normally, Smite players, when something's OP, they will play it.
Yes, they will.
They don't care what it takes. They
Because
will
she's
play it if they learn it's
boring.
OP. Nike is not that case. Nike has been putting up the best win rates in the game forever.
Since
but
she's
people
come
do
out,
not play
yeah.
it. We know. We've always had an idea.
Yes.
We've been looking for ways to adjust her without more heavily. but
Because
it's
her
of the
passive was OP and her kit was
passive
boring.
numbers give her team an insane
Yeah.
amount of damage. It
Exactly.
might not look like much.
Exactly.
And these numbers you're about to see that we're nerfing are going to look like
She was-
nothing.
she was a
But when
passive
you add
bot.
those small
She
amounts
was a
of percents,
passive
you
bot.
multiply that by every player, by every hit, by every second the game goes longer. Her passive contributes a ton to a fight. And the problem is you don't feel that as a Nike player. So what we're trying to
Yeah.
do is nerf that passive very heavily and then buff the rest of her kit as well as rework and
Perfect.
plan of action to make her kit feel impactful.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Perfect.
go through the
Yeah.
passive real quick because that's already on your screen. To victory, bonus power decreased
just a
from
passive
4 to
bot.
8%. Is now going to be 1 to 3% as you get those extra statuses. Also, the bonus movement speed has been decreased. It was 2 to 6%.
Oh, yeah, that's a
is now going to be
huge
1
nerf.
to 2%. So the passive
got
really
nerfed into the
nerfed heavily.
floor.
It
I
still
know it
doesn't
looks
affect.
strange for us to be nerfing the least popular god in the game.
Can you
but
explain why we did it? Can you tell them the truth?
everything else
I
is
want
gonna
you to
be-
tell them the truth.
Everything else is going to be really strongly buffed. That's the truth.
Tell them about the 6%.
Everything else
Tell
is
them about it.
Through some interesting mathematical calculations, we have decided that Nike's win rate is about 7% contributed to her passive, which is like
Yes.
that's like a
Can I
50,
say it?
No, you can't. It's like a
Okay.
50 god jump. It's It's like a Pixie God jump.
Just look at the
So-
numbers again. 8% power percent for 5 members of your team is actually just
It's
ridiculous.
insane.
Yeah, she gives her teammates more than a patch note show buff every time they are in the game with her.
Yeah, it's
It's a
insane.
way to view
It's
this
absolutely insane.
passive.
So we're nerfing the passive real hard, but we're buffing the rest of the kit.
And here's the
big
look
time.
at the other stuff that we're going to buff then.
Good.
First up is going to be Rend. This ability now always fires all 3 hits. You don't have to proc your plan of action. First of all, you just get it as standard. Does it still disarm on the 3rd hit?
It
John?
still disarms on the 3rd hit.
Does all
and
the same
That's
things.
thick.
all of this, all this
Thick
that we're
buff.
going to see is going to be because of the plan of action rework.
Plan of action is
Thick
gone.
buff.
So.
And that's it
Get
for
rid of
Rend,
plan
as
of
you can
action
see.
was a
So
terrible
basically,
ability.
That's all
three
Rend
hits.
needs.
That's all
This
Rend needs.
ability
It's a
modifies
really
your other
strong
abilities,
Even
and
better
that's all
wave
it
clear and
does.
the back chance to disarm. But we'll move on then to plan of action. And this is a full ability rework. So let me go through this.
Oh, yeah,
The
okay.
ability name is called.
Barrier formation.
First of all, that's
Barrier
Oh,
cool.
you're
formation.
renaming the ability?
Yes.
It's a completely
You
new
can't
ability.
do
new name,
that.
new
That's
icon.
cool.
It is new aim, new ability, new icon, new name. It is called Barrier Formation.
Oh, I don't
The animation
have that.
looks
This
cool.
description is old. Don't read it entirely.
Okay, why don't you describe it then?
I'm sorry.
No
sorry.
problem.
Me and Pod rewrote this
Yes.
last night.
So, okay,
But- so
walk
this
us
is a
through
ch-
what this is.
This is a channeled ability. Nike channels into a new stance, her barrier formation, and summons a shield in front of her.
Okay.
This
a big-
shield blocks, it absorbs like block stacks.
Is this the ability I've
all
wanted in
incoming
Smite?
ranged basic attacks.
This is what I've
So
wanted
you
for
can run
so
right at a
long.
hunter or mages and just absorb. You will take nothing, no
Basic
damage.
attack was the
Basic
keyword there.
attacks
Okay.
only.
Okay.
So she has the shield wall. We know people have been asking for this ability in
Yeah.
Smite for a really long time. It's important that we implement it in this way
Years.
with basic attacks because projectiles in Smite do not work in a way that is absorbed like this. All sorts of abilities in Smite have all these different categories that don't work well with this type
man.
of shield wall interaction. So
For
it's designed
years,
just to absorb basic
I've been
attacks.
asking for
But
this.
it does a lot of other
Since
things.
Kabrakan came
It
out, and I
also
thought he
does
would have
damage and pushes enemy who get close in melee range.
What?
it.
Oh, okay.
As
This
you can
includes
see,
minions as well.
Oh!
easily slowed. So
That's
it's very
BM.
hard to get multiple stacks on people in this regard. But what this lets Nike do is assume this frontline formation in front
That's
of her
so
team
BM.
and push closer towards
I
enemies,
love it.
blocking
I literally
all
love
hunter
it.
attacks, except abilities, and knocking back anyone else who tries to get into her team. So it gives her great peel.
That's so
gives
good.
her
That's so
really
good, though.
push. And you can even use this in really interesting
That's actually
applications in
sick.
Wave. And finally, when the ability finishes, or if you refire
The
it
peel
early,
on
it
that's
detonates
really
in that
good,
targeted-
actually.
That larger targeted area.
It may not
at the
seem
end.
like
so even
it,
if you don't want any of those other
But
effects,
walking at
you
like
can just go
a
2-2
melee
real quick
character
just for a little
on your
extra burst
back
damage.
line is
How does
actually
this
that's actually
last?
really strong.
6
That
seconds.
little
6
itty
seconds.
bitty
Oh, we
knock
can
up
cancel
over and
it.
over
You can
again.
cancel it
But you
early.
can cancel
You
it
cancel
early
it,
if you
you
choose.
choose.
Okay.
Really controlled out of it.
Really
Still get
peel
that
melee
So
character.
it does a lot of things. It's a very
If you're just
interesting, very
standing by
unique
your-
ability.
your-
Everyone
your
was saying that
squishies.
Nike didn't have her special twist that no other god has. This ability is very interesting and
That
has
is
a lot
cool.
of unique applications that are different to
That's
other
that
gods.
has
block-
huge
block's basic
implications.
attack,
for the
sorry,
game.
also
Huge.
knocks people back if they get too close to her, and if she detonates again or at the end of
Nike
this, it'll
support.
deal damage too.
And you can see she has slowed movement speed and even slowed camera rotation. If you activate it and turn, it takes her some time. So it prevents sort of shake and bake type of issues or spinning the camera around max speed to attempt to block things from all directions.
Someone's
It's
gonna
intended
try
to be
that.
Yeah.
a formation where you move in
It's
a
fast
consistent
enough.
direction.
I'm
It's
disappointed I
fast
can't spin on
enough.
the spot and block everything. That's I was looking forward to
yeah.
that. Okay,
Unfortunately.
well that's not it for Nike because obviously plan of action. There's the little look of the rework.
It's
Valiant
fast now.
Leap. This ability now will always travel at the fastest speed. So before you use to plan of action to get that faster speed, you're always going to move. at that
Nike
faster
support,
speed
ladies
now.
and gentlemen.
And still get the
She
knockback
has her
and all
initiation.
The good stuff from that.
She has her initiation.
Okay, and then also
She has a
Sentinel of
disarm, she has a
Zeus.
knockback,
This
a
ability
slow,
no
a
longer
knock
goes
up.
on
That's it.
cooldown if Nike dies during the warm-up
That's it.
time. Gain shield immediately.
We
is
did
what I
it.
got written
She
down.
just became an
The,
insane
Because it used to be
support.
that issue where you could die as you were trying to ult.
Yes, so this ability will not. The gain shield immediately is old line. I'm sorry. And
She
that
just became a
is,
top tier. She could be
quality of life.
one of the best
The
supports
ability
in the
still has
game.
the same
Honest to
animation times,
God.
everything else is just
In
you
the
won't
support
lose
meta
the
that we're in
cooldown
right
unless
now,
you get the shield.
the
Right.
amount of CC
We
and
also
damage and
adjusted
clear
the
that she's
shield.
going to
Everything else
have.
got buffed immediately to its plan of action, This one is somewhere in between.
Yes.
Without reading the
So
exact numbers.
plan of
it's-
action previously was a 20% increase to the ultimate. Now it's always going to be a 10%, I believe, at all runs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Increase from previous numbers.
It's halfway in between the plan of action versions.
So it really feels like Nike got everything that she already had. A little
Nike
bit
just
toned
became
down of a
so
passive,
good.
well, quite a bit toned down on the passive.
She's gonna
but
feel
she got an extra
so
ability to use,
good
so
to
speak.
play.
And it's effective that plan of action was on 100% of the time, which
Right.
is a big buff.
Definitely, especially because the Ren's going to do 3 strikes as well. Okay.
Wow.
Well, I'm excited to see how Nike works out on the PTS.
She
and
just
going
became-
forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please
Give us
test this
feedback.
ability.
Man,
let us
she
know your
looks
feedback.
fun.
We would still be happy to make some small tuning changes
Those
to
are-
it. PTS,
those are massive
some small number
changes.
changes. It's a very unique ability, so we're interested to see how it applies.
One last thing I want to mention is that
Wow.
Plan of Action previously also had an HPA 5 passive component and bonus damage to your next abilities.
Yep.
Because Plan of Action is completely different, and now it's a reworked ability. Those are gone. So while it does look ridiculous that
Oh, good
Rend
point.
is,
Yeah.
you know, happening 3 times, previously with Plan of Action and Rend, you were getting bonus damage per hit, and you were getting passive HP 5. So those components being removed also will help
Right.
the fact that we buffed all of our other
Losing
abilities.
that
Doesn't matter.
regen.
It's
is
gonna be a big
something-
deal.
If you're a Nike player, you might need to itemize a little differently around that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to
Gonna be
move
fine.
on as we've got
Don't worry
still
about it.
plenty more gods to go through.
That's
and the next one I'm
great.
going to mention real
That's
quick
huge.
is Odin is going to get a small buff this patch to Raven Shout. Decreased cooldown of the Raven Shout from 15 seconds is now going to scale all the way down as you max it up to
Okay.
11 seconds. And that'll just match the leap as well.
Yeah, it'll match the leap,
Interesting.
and this is targeted towards making sure that he feels impactful outside of just being someone that drops an
That'll be
ultimate.
pretty
That's
good.
traditionally been like his role as ult is a really heavy
Relic
counter to a lot of things.
dagger
We've addressed
buff
that in a lot of patches, but that made him
combined
feel a
with
bit underwhelming. We
Odin's
brought some core
ult,
power back
Blink,
to his other
combined
abilities.
with a
Okay,
little
that's it for Odin.
Raven
We'll move on to
Shout.
Oleron next. Overflowing
Little love.
Divinity. We fixed a bug where the damage fall-off did not affect the magical power scaling on this ability. We've also increased the base damage per shot from 30 to 70. It's now going to be 35 to 95.
That's big.
Increase
Yep.
the magical power scaling
There's
per
the
shot
all-around
from
buffs.
10% to 15%.
Yep.
Hitting the same enemy with each shot now deals 20% less damage per shot, increased from 10%. Decrease the minimum damage that each shot can do from 20% of total damage to 10%. This will
God.
cause shots to more quickly decay in damage while lowering the lowest damage they can deal. And the projectiles now start randomizing the hit location from the second projectile increased from the 5th. This is all about the second ability here.
This is all about the refire of the second ability.
It's a lot of text.
That's a lot
It's
of
mostly
text.
just a bug fix and a slight buff to the first hit and a nerf to the later hits.
Okay.
Yeah, and
makes
the
a lot of
bug
sense.
fix had
Cool.
a lot to do also with like the top end damage it could deal. So some of
Alright.
the balance changes had to be addressed. Were targeted.
Are they
towards
not gonna
addressing
buff
the
his
change
one?
due to the bug
His
fix
one
as well.
sucks.
For the most part, your first like 5
They're
shots
talking about
pretty
his
much at
two,
all
I
ranks will
presume
be
they're
doing
not
more
gonna buff
damage
his
than
one,
before,
right?
which will help in cases where people are trying to
So-
run away or it's kind of hard to hit that ability unless people are CC'd. And in those cases where players are CC'd or on minions or jungle camps, it's going to be doing less damage overall.
I think that's fair. I think the first shot is generally the hardest because you don't really feel it. If someone stood still, it's easy to hit, but outside of that, makes a lot of sense for all around. Next up, Rama on the
that's
list.
fine.
Astral Barrage. We've shifted the damage for each successive shot that does damage. Sorry, from 50 to 100%. It's now going to be 70 to 100%.
Wow,
so an early
that's
game shift and second tier 2. But we've reduced the damage
Interesting.
from 200 to 660% scaling. Will now be 180 to 540 with 55%
Oh,
of
what?
your physical power scaling
Why?
instead. So it's going to hit harder, but equal, basically.
This one we
is what
might
it
as
feels
well
like
have
to me.
not written all the numbers.
Right.
This one is a damage consistency pass.
Okay.
Right now, his shots have extremely intense scaling between the 3 shots. We're just leveling that off a little bit. The total amount of damage his ultimate can deal is about the same.
Okay.
It's very close. It's not exactly the same. It's a little bit more. Flairbit will help you out later if you want to see those exact numbers.
He got 2 references on a show.
I know,
That's
he
that's
deserves
too
it.
much.
Oh, no,
Deserves
wait.
it.
Actually,
Too
he
much.
helped a lot with the all-around numbers too.
Yeah,
he wanted
yeah,
a shout
yeah,
out there,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I want
true,
to make
true,
Well,
sure.
if All-Around's
He did a
bad
really
show
nice
to
choreograph.
But what this
play,
is
right?
going to do is, first of all, it's going to make the first shot more impactful.
Okay.
With Rama, so be careful for that.
Okay.
And it's going to make the last shot not so insanely high damaging. Of course, it's still very important to hit all 3 to kill people, but just going to even him up a little
So
bit. This
the-
god, an overwhelming large amount of people cannot perform with this god.
Including the professionals trying to hit all 3 snipes. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. So it's just a slight equalizing.
Okay.
Well, the next one on the list is
So
going
the
to be
start of his
Scotty, and
ulti
I'm
is
gonna go a
slightly
little bit more
better,
into
and the
detail
end of
on
it is
Scotty
slightly
too.
worse.
Actually does have a
So
bit of a
slightly
rework
easier to get
added
more
in
damage
here
off
too.
with Rama.
Calder, first of all, the Winter Wolf. If Calder has 0 HP, Scotty gains 10% increased
That's
physical power.
different.
So,
Kill call.
Oh no.
dog is dead.
He comes back.
That's
Scotty
different.
gets angry and does more damage. Calder increased hit point regeneration as well from 7 seconds to 5 seconds. So he should be up a little bit more often. And that also, well, that will mean that you won't have that 10% increased physical power when that's regenerated as well. But then we'll move on to the reworkability. And may God have mercy on all your souls.
No.
Winter's Grasp, the ultimate. A snowstorm summons around Skadi as she chooses a location for Calder to leap towards. No, he doesn't run. He freaking leaps in there, son. Upon reaching the location, a snowstorm also surrounds Calder, being hit by an initial hit of either snowstorm roots enemies in the area. Calder resurrects if he is down and immediately leaps upon ability activation. You can throw the ultimate is basically what that reads, guys.
Right. This is first of all, thank you to the community for discussing with us these changes. They're very influenced by you. By Reddit, Twitter, Olympians, Pro, Discord. We really appreciate it. Scotty has got us very close to my heart.
Scary.
So we're really happy to make her feel way better to play. We gave her an additional passive. I'm pretty convinced that Calder as a passive is still quite potent, but now she has another one, so if you want to be a technicality, you don't have that point anymore to use against us. She has a passive. And now you don't have that quality of life problem where when you send Calder in, he gets turned around at the last second. You just whiff your whole ultimate. Now you can just aim that spot. He does all of the same things, same damage, same route, same duration, same health. He just goes to the spot you choose. So it's going to add a lot of control.
Massive.
And if Calder was already attacking that target and used the ultimate there, he won't like leap again. He will just do it immediately like he did before. So it's strictly a quality of life increase.
Definitely play around with this in the PTS, guys, because it's something that you want to have fun with and actually experiment with.
That's going to be so hard to deal with as a mage. If you're a mage against a Scotty mid, that is that's basically impossible to deal with.
Even though Scotty is going to be doing so in this next patch.
That sucks.
Moving on then to another god that's been in and out over the years.
A thunderous one.
Is getting a lot of changes at this patch. What's the main goal with Thor here, guys?
Well, Thor has a couple passes. Specifically, we want to bring something more unique to his theming, just add more to his character.
Okay.
He has some themes and some ideas and some visuals, but they're not super conveyed through all of his abilities. We're going to add a new element that really ties that all together.
Yep.
As well as
a new element, nice.
Yeah, element, like, quite literally. And we just want his kit to flow a little better. We want to. I guess the way we described it is, his kit has some very specific purposes. We're trying to make his kit better at what it's supposed to do.
Okay. Well, let's see how this works out.
That's a
First of all,
bug
we'll
fix.
start off with the passive Mjolnir's
Finally.
attunement. Fix an issue where players at max range would be hit by an initial hit. Sorry, that's the one.
Yep.
Fix an initial hit by not...
That's been
But not by the return.
Not by the return
Yeah, so
hit.
this is the
so this
max
is the ghost
range.
hits,
Yeah,
right?
so-
Ghost hits, whiff hits, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so you'd throw it out, you'd hit someone,
Phantom hit.
and they'd only take one source of damage, which doesn't make any sense because if they
Yeah.
were hit by the initial hit, they should be hit by the return hit.
Exactly.
And if they were hit by just the return hit, why didn't the initial hit
Yeah,
hit?
Pon, why?
It's fixed.
Well, we fixed it.
fixed.
That I had
This is another one that was
Nice.
tough to track down, been in the game forever, but
Took
this
us
is-
6
this is-
seasons.
Yeah, it's been in the
but we
game
made
for-
it.
We
That's
did
the
it.
main
Well, we
thing.
hope so.
Like
Berserker's
Thor-
Barrage is what we're going to move
This
on
is
to
a
next.
big
And
change.
this is
This
an
is a big one.
ability
Oh,
rework.
wow.
We've
We're
reworked
taking
this
away
ability. It
three.
says here, Thor spins his hammer around him, dealing damage to enemies in front of him up to 3 times, and those behind him up to 2 times. The final swing deals extra damage. Thor is immune to knock-up for the duration. The cooldown's been reduced from 11 seconds to 8 seconds. The mana cost has gone down as well. The damage per hit has been changed, and the final damage swing is a different variation than the normal damage swing. I'm not going to read every number out
Yeah,
there, guys.
don't worry about it.
But as you can see, it's very quick here, guys. And
That
it's-
is the key.
The CD is also much lower.
Yeah, cooldown's lower, the damage comes out quicker, and this does a few things. One, it increases his clear speed overall as a
Oh,
whole.
man, that
It lets
could
him
be
more
huge
of a brawler.
for Thor.
He can get in, and if you fight him more regularly,
Oh, wow.
he gets us up
That's
more quickly.
very
And
fast.
also, it removes a lot of the weird cases. If you're a Thor main, you often have to know that, okay, I'm going to get 2 ticks and immediately cancel it because actually basic attacking is more efficient.
Sure.
And I also know I have to right-click cancel out of the final tick because the final tick lasts too long. There's a lot of weird interactions that occur with how long that...
Okay.
Basically, the long channel time creates some weird gameplay scenarios.
Right.
Shortening it up means it's a very responsive, snappy ability. It's useful just to quickly throw out. It doesn't interfere too much with your combo, and it helps make your combo actually flow a bit more fluidly as a whole. And this should just overall help Thor feel better.
It also reduces the variability a little bit because one of the problems with this this ability is that if you let it go for the entire duration, it does a lot of damage to multiple
like
different
an
people.
insane number.
Yeah, but if you if you get silenced, you get crowd controlled almost
That
right at the beginning of it,
is
you're getting almost nothing.
After
Now,
testing with this, does it still feel about the same amount of damage? Has the damage gone down overall?
damage has definitely gone down compared to a full duration Berserker Barrage from
But
before.
that never happened.
That
so
number
I would
was
say
like
the damage
1,000.
feels like it's gone up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also has more time to basic attack too, so you can auto do the spin auto, which helps make up for that damage loss and actually exceed it.
Get those cancels in there.
Yeah, one last thing is that there's actually
Why
another,
are they speed
a different kind of
hacking right now
component
for
to this ability, which is a little bit different than anything we've done, where the third
Bunch of
hit in
goofballs.
front does more
Bunch of
damage than the other two
goofballs
hits,
using
which
their
means
speed
you want to
hacks.
be tracking your enemy and also having them constantly be in front of you to get the extra powerful
So
hit at the
aim
end.
at the target you're trying to
You'll
hit.
need to keep your aim through the end. Yeah, that's a big
Alright.
change to what Thor players are used to. You can spin away.
Yeah.
You need to keep tracking the target until you finish the animation. But that helps encourage players to follow up with those additional basics, make the whole kit flow together. Now let's get to the
Could
thunder.
be interesting. It's
Only
got a
the
very,
Hand
very
of
low
Dawn is
cooldown.
going to have a new component.
So,
After
it might be
Thor
good for a
lands from his
jungle
ultimate,
clear.
his hammer Mjolnir is infused with lightning. During this buff state, each of his basic attacks chain lightning to nearby enemy gods, damaging them with each hit. It'll scale from 20 to 60 plus 50% of your physical power and last 6 seconds.
What?
Enemies hit by this lightning will take 50% damage from the subsequent lightning.
Not only your basic attacks, but your abilities too.
Yeah, if
Oh,
Mjolnir
abilities
hits,
is what?
So
Wait, what?
Mjolnir at all hits.
which happens to be every ability, but and basic attack.
Except for his
Yeah.
whip, because that's not, damaging anyways.
So he was getting
my days.
He was getting chain lightning triggers on the hammer, both in and out,
Yeah.
as well as all 3 spins. So you can get 5 lightning triggers immediately by just going with a 1-1-3.
Which is also why that rule of every subsequent hit deals 50% less damage exists, because as you can see, this can do a lot of damage.
I mean,
but
it was
only works
weird
on
not
enemy
having
gods. So if there's
Thor
minions
be the
in the way,
best
you're not
jungler
blowing
in
everyone
Well,
Smite
work
for a
on minions,
while,
exactly.
you know.
Okay, and it won't-
So I'm glad
the
we're
lightning
getting back
jump
to
to
our
minions
Smite
at all, it's only
roots and
to
just
all the
making
others.
sure that
Okay,
Thor
does that
is
work
the
on
best
double taps and
jungler in the
things as well?
game. And it's a good thing that we just got
no,
that new
so
ban,
the
so
light
we
comes
can
to
just
minions.
ban him every
Right,
game, so
sorry,
he never
the
actually
Arc Lightning
gets
will
played.
not go
That's
to
So I
fine.
just wanted to make sure
That's
only
fine.
on gods.
You can't use
Don't worry
on
about
fire
it.
giant to bounce it
Exactly.
around people
All
and stuff
good.
like that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All good.
So that's it for Thor. We've still got a couple more to go through, so I'm going to have to move along.
That's
to
literally
Tough
broke. That's so
next
broken.
On the
Oh, yeah.
list.
It's so
And this is going to
broken.
be ability tweaks for this one, is what I'm seeing here. Tough, hieroglyphic assault. Every time an enemy god is hit by this ability, the ability's cooldown is reduced upon finishing by 1 second. This can only proc once per ability fire and cannot proc from multiple gods hit in the same projectile. We've also reduced the damage per shot from 45 to 125. It's now going to be 40 to 120 and lower scaling too. And hitting an enemy with this ability increases the damage they take from each subsequent shot by 20%. Walk me through real quick in layman's terms what this is going to mean.
Thoth has an interesting balance.
Wow.
He was never really performing that well, even when pros were picking him up, but the community feedback was strong. So he was undertuned quite a bit. We're trying to bring him back, and we're trying to focus on very specifically how we
They're
bring him
lagging
back.
really hard.
And that
they're
is
like
through
in-game client is
rewarding
lagging.
skill shots. This is what
Really
he's
bad.
designed to do.
They need to take off that speed
essentially
hit.
what had happened here is hieroglyphic assault
Wow.
got nerfed. To put it in the simplest senses, its base damage got nerfed, which
Right.
is strange, right? Okay, the god's already suffering.
Sure.
But what we're doing here is we're rewarding Thoth for hitting successive hits of hieroglyphic assault.
Okay.
So now that the base damage is nerfed, that's fine. But if you end up hitting all 3 targets, that damage is going to ramp up, and you're going to get up to 3 seconds off the next cooldown of hieroglyphic assault.
Interesting.
So he'll be firing
This is a
more
huge
hieroglyphic assaults,
buff for
and the
Thoth.
damage will be ramping up if you hit the
Huge
1,
buff.
2, 3. Gives this really fun little tension moment when you're fighting against Thoth, where you really want to
interesting.
avoid. As you get hit, the intensity
So.
goes up, and you're like, okay, I got hit once. I better not get hit. Oh, twice? Okay, now I really need a juke. Those
That's a
types of
big
feels
buff.
are really fun, as well as lets Thoth fire the ability more often, which is really important for frustration reasons. Like one big ability that one-shots you one time, that's really frustrating. But if you get hit by 20 skill shots and you die, then you kind of understand why you died.
So if the tough player is more
Okay.
effective at landing the ability, he's going to be able to fire more. But if he's not as good at landing the
Alright.
ability, or his enemy's juking more, you can potentially punish him for that.
That's
Right,
a big
exactly.
buff.
And
Okay.
also, because this extra rule
I like
only
Thoth
works
too,
on
so
enemy
I'm down.
gods.
I'm down
You're
for
actually
Thoth
doing
Plus.
less damage.
He
to
never
minions
gets
because
played
we
right
did
now
nerf
anyway.
the base damage and the scaling.
I'm the only
So
person
that
I ever
means that
seen
his
play Thoth.
extremely
because I like
potent
him. I think
early
he has a
game
fun
that he has
kit.
once he gets his wall, or extremely safe
else
and
plays him, though.
pretty high damage, is going to be less than it was before. So it's really going to help him scale up towards the mid and late game where he should shine.
Well, we'll see how Thoth does on that in the
That'll be
BTS too. We'll move on then to Raven, who's going to get a small change this patch. Not much of one here, but Ravana. 10-hand
really?
Shadow Fist decreased the cooldown from 18 seconds to 16 seconds.
cooldown another
I
3.
guess that's just to make him a little bit more consistent along with the other assassins.
Okay.
key.
18
And
seconds is a
also
long
trying to
time.
avoid buffing the things that are frustrating about him, like his evasion ability, right? Like we want to bring some power to him, but we don't want to bring power to like his backflip that causes him to be immune to damage, or his ultimate that lets him engage really heavily. Just more consistency overall in his core kit.
And the final god.
One
we
more.
finally got to the final god that's
We're
going to
there.
get a balance adjustment. This patch is going to be Zeus. Yes, he's the last on the list. Passive, added text to show duration of charges.
Oh,
Thanks for the
incredible.
And new component to detonate the third ability. After this ability is used, there is now a delay time of 0.3 seconds before the enemy is hit with damage. What? Is that going to be... Notice how aggro could be heard from across the room because he knows exactly... There's going to be a lot of
Why did they
lightning
nerf
storm there.
Zeus?
Visual
And auditory.
Visual and auditory
Wait a
clarity.
second! You did a nerf to Zeus as he just got a new skin. What is this?
Right? I don't know.
How are we supposed to sell them?
So Zeus is really strong right now.
Is
You've actually
he?
been seeing him in SPL. Oh, you know, people used to think Zeus was kind of a meme for the longest time, but he was always insanely strong in our arena, joust, etc. He's now really strong in all modes. We wanted to take this opportunity to help with a key frustration point and visual clarity point that this is another thing we've kind of been wanting to do for a long time. So Detonate, you have no information that you're just going to instantly
All right,
die
that's a big
at any
fat
point.
Zeus.
Yeah.
You don't even know when to Aegis. In fact,
The
it's kind of like
gamble
a...
of Vegas.
Well,
like,
because
oh,
he's
it's
got
a
nerfed
big
as well at the time, didn't it?
fat
Because it
Zeus.
used to potentially have a bit
Now
more
you
of
can
a-
Aegis
seal
it
in 2
way
seconds left on the
easier.
Detonate and then activate, right?
So-
But that's still insane. Like that's still so narrow. So now
Yeah.
you can actually see when that first lightning bolt shows up, you can hit your Aegis and make sure that you'll prevent the actual damage.
All right.
light
Shield or
plus
meditate or
Shields,
shield.
Alrighty.
meditate, you can actually see, watch the ground around the Odins as you detonate. You can see the closing circle that gives you very clear indicator when you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
That's really
So
cool.
this is
Alright.
technically a nerf, but doesn't actually change his as damage output or cooldowns or anything in any way. It's purely visual feedback and responsiveness.
Purely
So
visual
if you're playing against
feedback.
players who are not Aegising or dodging or anything,
That's not
anyway,
gonna
Let's
you're
see.
not going to notice
Right.
any change.
That'll be a
So,
high level
Scotty,
nerf.
Thor,
That's a high
Zeus,
level Zeus.
Toth. There's quite a few of
Isis,
High
Nike.
Apollo.
Yeah.
Nike.
Apollo. Oh, my- add her. Okay. It's going to go on
Won't
for this.
affect
A lot
new
of
players
different
probably at
changes to
all.
the gods.
But
Gentlemen,
high-
thank you so
high
much. The
level
main question
Zeus
I
play
have
just
right
got
now,
nerfed.
though, is
And
when
he's never
is the
played anyway at high
PTS
level
going to be
rank,
up?
so.
We just wanted to make sure that everybody's clear that we're doing the show a day early because of the tournament. So
Yeah.
normally PTS would be ready tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
It might not be ready tonight.
Okay.
Keep an eye on our social media. I do not have confirmation yet when it will be, but I know people expect it after the patch show, but I wanted to remind people we're a day earlier, so
Okay.
we need that. We might need that one day.
Cool.
Because this is a lot of stuff.
Well, keep
That's-
an
that's a
eye
lot
on
of-
social
there's a
media.
lot of
We'll
stuff.
try and give you an update on when PTS out. The sooner we can get it to you, we will. With that, though, we're going to take a quick break, and here's a little look at what we've got coming in the Battle Pass.
The battle pass. Oh, that's why there was all the sweet skins. It's a themed battle pass with all the sweet skins. Okay. That's not a sweet skin. Sweet victory. So I just get a alright. Anyway. It's a different type of battle pass. It's certainly different. Hello, Gamer Catless. Did you know Smite is on the Switch? So, Funpocalypse, Jack. The Funpocalypse is coming.
Nintendo Switch. Download for free on the Nintendo eShop
It's
today.
the Funpocalypse.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back. It's time to get towards the skin
There we
section.
go.
I hope you've all recovered from the horrible, devastating news
Aggro, are you
of
okay?
a terrible Zeus nerf. I know. It was going so well before that,
You
too.
okay,
A great
bud?
mid-season patch, sullied
Is he
by
having a
terrible
moment?
Zeus nerf. I'm so sad. I'll get over it eventually, but we've got to get some of the skins and to go over the new battle pass
Did he
as
get
well.
Zeus
I've got
detonated?
an esteemed group with me here on the couch. We've got Tina, Vivian, and Tori joining us. Everybody, welcome. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to move
He did
pretty
an
quick
Aegis,
because
y'all.
MSI looms.
He did an
So let's
Aegis.
start with this battle pass. And Vivian, let's start with you. Sweet Victory, the theme of this battle pass. Run us through it.
Okay, so like the last battle pass, we created a world for this one as well. The last one was the cyberpunk world. This time, it is a world where the digital entertainment media has taken over, and they are like the big shots of the world. So the world is just divided into two sides. So there are the people who accept and enjoy the new way of living, and then there's those who are kind of stuck in the past, like what it used to be the good old times.
Lore show.
Okay.
And in this battle pass, we have several skins that kind of covers like those who really embrace the new way, those who are kind of like in between, and then those who are kind of like, well, this is the world to be. Let me remind you how it is.
Okay, I can dig it. Let's start with the very first one then, and that's Power Up Hera. You guys have probably seen a lot of this.
I presume
teaser art and that kind of stuff. Tina, I think I saw this on your Twitter page as well. She's a reigning arcade champ who also battles in the bot dueling arena along with her companion pilot, Widget. That's a cute cat name. Look, guys, I've got a question for you right away. Okay. Khepri and Kuzenbo have been looking for a gun for a long time, and we gave Hera one first. What's the deal with this? Okay, just wait indeed. There's Widget. That's so.
Look at Widget. No, you have to close up on him inside.
He is so cute. Yeah, look at the cat.
Okay.
Look at him.
Dude, he is so angry. Fierce. Yeah, he is. He's going to town, man.
He's gonna beat you up.
For sure.
Yeah, it's Overwatch Hera,
I love
dude.
the blue and pink effects. We've done that. I think it kind of reminds me of the Discordia
artistic
skin
leeway
like that,
and all that. You
absolutely love it.
And
it
all
certainly
that
works well here. I see that we have a VXG on this one that I definitely want to get to right away.
Out?
Maybe.
Oh, Widget!
He's flying around with me.
Oh,
yeah.
I love the ragdoll effect. He just floating.
All right.
Floating.
It's pretty
through.
decent VXG. I respect
Let's take
that.
a listen to the voice back here.
You kick butt. We make a great team. Attack! Defend! Oh, come on. You're not gonna back away now, are ya?
These portals
You're
are scary.
So bad at RPGs. When somebody asks you where you're stuck, you say, the file select screen.
There you have it right there, Hera. We're going to be seeing more of this in a little bit.
That one hurt so bad.
All right, we also have Funpocalypse.
That really hurt.
Okay, most
that one was
apocalypses
painful.
I would not describe as fun, but this one apparently is. Right?
He's very. It's kind of creepy.
Yes.
It's a little unsettling.
Makes me a little uneasy.
But kind of cute.
A little bit.
Brad Venable voiced this character, and he's voiced many.
Oh, that was kind of a cool sound.
Great. A lot of the Smite characters. And I basically told him to sound like he's on cocaine.
Okay.
And it came out fantastic.
That's
Once you listen to it, you will understand.
Actually, haven't even heard it yet.
The weapon's terrifying. It is.
Well, I just saw this character and I thought he was on drugs, so.
Oh, that kind of.
I mean, you don't really wear the bunny head like chilling. Right?
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like no one does that casually.
This skin reminds me of the Purge. That's what. That's the vibe I get major like.
You gotta get through it.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
You're good. Hells yeah. I'm the best. I don't like your head. You could use a new one. I think mascots are the hardest roles for actors to play. They have to really get into their characters.
It looks like he has a new weapon here as well.
Okay.
We'll take a look at it later.
It's okay.
Yeah, we got. Hey, like I said, we got to keep it rolling here. That the balance section quite extensive on the mid-season patch. Sweetie Pie Soul.
Yeah,
next
they've got the
list.
game
This
coming up.
one
They have
is
to run
is
through
a
the skins
recolor
really
of the
fast
Sweet
because
Tooth
they have
Soul
the
skins. So very similar to that.
The tournament.
You know it, you love it.
That's right.
Just
They have
looks a
to
little
get
bit
through
different.
everything really
If
fast.
you're
They
a
can't
fan
wait
of
on
blue.
She's just a blueberry now. Blueberry bubblegum.
I prefer blueberry bubblegum.
Oh, so this is a recolor of the bubble.
Blue raspberry. Yeah.
So this is a legit
blue
recolor.
raspberry, very good. So
I think every battle pass has had one
we also have
recolor.
Sweet Justice Nemesis. This one, an interesting one for Nemesis.
Yeah,
Number one,
they're already gone.
you can see your eyes. That's a big deal.
Already gone through it.
It's like the first
Only one.
Yeah.
So
You only get one.
but still, I mean, you get that's one more than we've seen before.
Yeah,
right?
Baby steps.
That's 100% more eyes. That is not how percentages work. Give me the backstory behind this skin. I love the idea.
So this one's a real treat because not only is it like so different from all of her skins so far, it's actually designed by our lead character artist who actually don't usually do concepts. So he's really good at whimsical things, and this one just came out like super nice. And her lore is that she's the one that's kind of in between the old way and the new ways, and she's really into wizardry.
Okay.
But she also owns a candy shop, so she likes to kind of like find the next new social media item. So she accidentally created a candy soul and ice creamy mirror.
Attack!
Oh. She created Soul in Your Mirror. That's dope. Let's take a listen to the voice pack here for Nemesis.
I am in awe.
Oh God, that
You
hurts.
can thank me later. I should transform you into a chocolate bunny. They are rather tasty. Why don't angry witches ride their candy sticks? Because they're afraid of flying off the handle.
Gotta say, her sword, that like hard rock candy, underrated. I like that kind of candy. I might be in the minority
little creepy
there,
for me.
I'll hop
Little
out on
creepy.
the limb. We also have rematch Hera, and
little too
this might look
lolly
pretty familiar to you.
anime-y for me.
This
Makes
is
me
part of the
uncomfortable.
prestige track
Makes me
of
uncomfortable.
the Battle Pass, which is a new sort of system. Tina, why don't you run us through it?
So we added 60 additional levels to the Battle Pass. Once you complete the base Battle Pass, and you feel like, you know, wanting more of a challenge or just grinding, you can go all the way up another 60 levels and get the limited Hera skin that is the one on the screen right now.
Yeah, that's rematch Hera for you there.
Yes, rematch Hera. Thank you.
I got you. No worries. That's what I'm here for. So once you complete the Battle Pass,
if you
you'll
complete
reset
the Battle
at
Pass
level 1 on the new prestige
twice,
track. It'll get easier again, just like
you'll
you're starting
get
the Battle
a
Pass
recolor
from level
of a
1.
skin you've
Now,
already
free
gotten
players can
from
also
that
earn
Battle
prestige
Pass.
progress, so you don't have to buy into the Battle Pass in order to try and get towards rematch Hera. And the usual free and premium tracks have not had any changes to their XP requirements or pricing, and rewards are generally in the same places as the previous passes. So that's just a cool, different, prestigious look for that Hera
Value.
skin. We got some more skins coming up right after this, but first we got to throw it over to Isaiah and Hindu Man over on the desk.
We do, and apologies again for how quick we're going through some of this stuff. It's just, we've got a tournament to go on to as well. Joined now, however, by Isaiah to go through some community and esports news. How's it going?
Tina's mic was
Yeah, not so bad. You okay on social media so far today?
Doing good,
Not too much
Everyone's
drama?
super hype.
That's a good news. Well, let's start off then with a little bit more hype news. There is actually an Ultimate God Pack sale going on at the moment, or coming soon.
No, it's going on right
Oh,
now
cool.
on Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. The Ultimate God Pack is 50% off. It's a crazy deal. If you don't have the Ultimate God Pack, I don't know what you're doing. Go ahead and get it for 50%
It makes
off.
no sense not to have
I know.
this. In all honesty,
It's a
guys, the
ridiculous
fact that
deal.
every single time a new God comes out, you'll get it free and you don't have to grind
The
the fever to
Ultimate
pick it up
God
or buy
Pack.
gems for it. Get the God Pack. You've got a chance now, 50%
Get the
off
God
on
Pack.
Switch and Xbox One for you all. Next up, though, we've also
That's
got the
true, though.
Twitch
Get the God
Prime
Pack if you don't have
offer,
the
which
God
we've been
Pack.
doing
Get the
consistently.
God Pack.
Yeah.
I heard there's a rumor that this is extended.
Yeah, it got extended. So it was supposed to end last week, but our friends over at Twitch were like, you know what? Let's extend it for another month. So you guys still have until July 29th to claim that Prince of Darkness Hades bundle, and that unlocks
Look at that.
all of the Twitch Prime skins that we've done.
Look at that.
So everything
4
you see on your
different
screen, you
skins
get
and
for
stuff
free.
you can get from using Amazon Prime. You know what
that.
else you can do with
Well,
Amazon
you've got
Prime?
just enough time.
If I've
You
got
can
some
subscribe to your
pretty sure
favorite
it's
streamers
obviously.
for
Make sure
free,
you use your
or
Twitch
even
Prime
idiot
and get
streamers
those-
like
yourself
me.
those skins as well. And last but certainly
That's crazy.
not least, I've got
That's
down
crazy.
the Olympians
How about
Summit.
that?
What's this
Yeah,
about?
so we've got our Smite Player Council, the Olympians, a group of 9 players that were elected by you, the community, to serve as a player council and gather feedback and help us at Titan Forge Games make Smite even better. So our inaugural summit is happening next week. We're flying all 9 members of the summit to hi-rez Studios for 3 days filled with workshops, breakout sessions, and they're going to help us with our plans for 2020 in Smite to make sure that we've got everything on track.
Cool. So if you don't like what happens in 2020, you blame the Olympians.
don't
That's what
blame
they're
the
there for,
Olympians, yeah.
right? They're to save us. the
Perfect. Don't
problem.
blame hi-rez,
Well,
blame
then,
the
folks,
Olympians.
Not only that,
We
boys
love
and girls,
shirking
esports
responsibility
is going on,
here.
As always, Smite is very, very focused on esports, and Date of the MSI will continue straight after this, and get to see which of the teams actually make it through into the main event tomorrow later on. But with that, it's time for me and Isaiah to disappear and go and read about all your feedback about the latest
that
update
it?
coming to you.
Is the patch
For now, though,
over?
we'll head back to Ryan on the casual set to go through some more of those skins.
Oh god.
Thank you
more
very much,
skins?
guys. That's right. We're coming back to the casual set, but we got a new face joining us here. We got Wolf
There's more
Dog,
skins?
community artist. You all know
Hey,
him. You all
everybody.
love
We gotta
him.
get through these skins
Look,
quick.
If Wolf Dog's here, that means we've got some extra 6 skins designed by Wolf Dog to go over.
Yes.
But first,
Oh, yeah, the Owl
we're
Ron
gonna start
stuff. That's right.
with the reparations, the repayment
And the
of the
Zeus
Zeus nerf.
cutesy.
It's a
Cutesy
sick
Zeus, yep.
Zeus skin.
Cutesy Zeus.
Zappy,
Oh, I forgot about all these
chibi
skins.
Zeus.
There's so many
He's
skins
so
in this
cute
house.
and so lovable. What? Like, look at him. I don't care if this
He's pretty
peacock's
cute.
mad because he looks good. I'm about this.
He's
skin,
pretty
guys.
cute.
This is smart of you to kind of pair these two things together, because now I feel a little bit better about myself. I'm not quite as sad.
It's pretty good.
I love. I mean,
Oh man, that's
Stop
great.
it.
That's great.
That is hilarious.
Oh,
that is hilarious.
boy.
Sorry, for the
That
animation
cloud,
side, is it
though.
kind of hard to match some of the animations, these tiny little models like this?
Yes, exactly right. I mean, a lot of the times we
man.
have to go back and refix a lot of the animations because the scale is so different.
That's pretty
But
good.
it's always a lot of fun and kind of
It's
challenging.
a pretty
in
good
way.
skin.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a listen to the voice pack here for Zappy Chibi Zeus.
Attack! Wow, show off! Woohoo! Like I said, God of Gods.
Okay.
Do you even know who you're looking at? Yeah, the Master of Olympus. You know, I wish Medusa would stop objectifying people.
That's a good joke. I like that.
Thank you.
I like
Pretty
that.
good.
That
It's pretty
was
good.
funny.
You know who voiced that?
Pretty good.
Who is that?
Chris Abbott.
Really?
It's pretty
Yeah, it's
good.
Chris
My
Abbott.
boy.
It's pretty solid.
My
joke.
boy. Of course. We no one better for the Zeus.
All right,
I
not
love
bad.
it. All right, Spirit Sun Ho Yi. Next up on
Like
our
that
list.
Zeus skin?
This is just this color palette is super awesome. There's like a red
this
Ho Yi
a
skin, there's
reed?
a green Ho Yi
What
skin.
is this?
Now we get this celestial blue.
It's just like a real skin?
Sort of Ho Yi skin.
You're doing a bit of a Rama impersonation here.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, you're lagging, though. They're
definitely
lagging.
works for him.
Your server's lagging.
Alt
baby.
target looks sweet.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Are those
loud.
meteors or crystals?
It is loud.
I don't really care. Crystals, okay. I'm down with that. Oh yeah, the shattering effect on the 3 as well. Okay, I'm getting it now. It's all starting to come together.
It's a cool ult.
Yeah, on both sides.
Yeah.
You know. All right, let's take a listen to the voice pack here for Spirit Sun Ho Yi.
Attack! You show potential. Woohoo! Yes, I am the best.
All right.
I am ready to test
cool.
my skills. Are you? Power
Pretty
level
cool.
1000 watt? No one really measures power like that.
It's okay.
All right, next up we have Snow
Skin's
Strix
better than the
Ra.
voice pack.
A different style for the Raw man. Normally
owl
the blazing
skin
hot
for
sun
me.
god. Now the freezing cold
An owl
snow
skin
owl.
for your boy.
I love it. I think it's a really cool sort of twist on
It's
him.
finally
and kind
time
of fits with that old
that
icy
we got
crystal
an
that we
owl
just saw.
skin.
And he looks very warm.
Oh,
with that
yeah. Look at
jacket.
that ice beam. Look
You're
at
gonna
the
be
ice
sweating.
beam.
Super excited for this. Actually, you probably didn't know this, but my first favorite animal was actually owl.
Really?
Yeah.
And your
not a
current
wolf.
favorite
Owls are
animal,
cool, man.
right?
Very excited for this skin.
Right? Ooh, that
Definitely
beam looks
one
sick.
For you then, a little snowstorm in the 3. The icy effects sound great.
Love
They
it.
definitely fit this sort of style.
The cracking sound.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Love it.
Beautiful. He does have a VXG that I want to take a look at for sure.
And just like that, I'm a raw main. Hello?
And then he gets to skate around. Yeah, sign me up for some of that.
Yeah, Rusty knocked this one out of the park.
That is
Looks great.
so sweet.
Let's go.
VXGs are OP. Can I say that? Like it really does. Once your favorite god is a cool VXG, like I'm sold.
I still always play the bush one.
Oh my gosh.
Like the Ho Yi
The
bush.
Ho Yi bush.
Just hide in the bush.
I'm in.
Astonishing.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that. Here's the
Anthony,
voice pack
yeah,
for
Anthony
Tina
Snow.
loves the bush.
VXG parts, yeah.
I am Winter Storm. Come on, you aren't that daft to take me on, are you? Wait till I tell you about my battle today. It was a hoot.
Come on, man, you can't be laughing at that. That was to me, by the way. I laughed at that.
Are you listening to his laughs?
Yeah, the laugh is great. Raw has to have a great laugh. That's just part of it. Well done.
Yes!
Well done,
He's a
Tina.
voice actor I use too, so it's hard to tell him like how crazy Rod's previous laughs
Thank
are.
you,
Right.
Smite. I do appreciate
All right, Wolf Dog,
it.
we're starting off with your first one
I
of your skins of the
do.
patch, Molten Shogun
Oh,
Erlong Shen.
man.
Erlong been
I do.
desperate for a skin for a while.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
inspired you for this sort of style for him?
So
Finally,
one
in
of
our
the
leg
things I've
skin.
heard all the time on Reddit and Twitter and everything is they want Erlang to have more of a sort of Oriental feel. So I try to go with a little more Asian style armor, a little more points, and then sort of fit in that flaming sort of texture to it. So really glad I got to do the skin because I got to actually work on a dog this time. So pretty proud
Fire
of his,
Lord
dog.
Erlang.
Yeah,
it kind of is a
absolutely.
little
Not quite
bit.
a wolf,
And then the
but-
Fire
Yeah,
Nation
not
attacks.
yet.
Yeah, it's a little
Not yet,
bit, and then the
exactly.
Fire
Not-
Nation
not yet on
attacks.
that one.
Yeah.
That is
A little
sweet.
bit.
I mean, Erlang
That's a cool two.
has
That's a good
really
two
needed
animation.
one for a while. I know some people in the community have been bugging me in particular to try and get this god a skin, and now they can stop asking. You know, now we're good to go.
Love that.
A fiery mink.
That's perfect.
Cool
It's
auto
a-
effects. Cool. There's some
That is
really
sweet.
cool effects on this skin.
I love it. And
Really
Erlang's like
cool.
so cheery all the time in his default skin.
Wow.
He's like, "Hey, it's me, Erlang Shen," and now he's like,
He's
way
got a lot of
angry.
funny skins.
Yeah, I
Like
like
it gets a little more serious.
Absolutely. And
Wowzers.
the theming works well with the fire. Definitely not the first thing that I would have thought of, but I think it works beautifully here. Really awesome. So you listen
It
to
is
the voice
good.
back.
Have been better. I guess you're
Wow.
adequate. I am the greatest. You dare question who's the best? Torture is my middle name. What does a burning ember like to sing? Hmm? Goodness gracious, great balls of fire!
There you have it, Erlang.
Okay.
Back in the skin game, Molten
Alright.
Shogun, Erlang Shen.
the skin
And then we
game.
have Infantry
I think this is the final skin.
Sylvanas.
Yes.
It's a great pun, number one, but Wolf Dog,
Great
this is
pun.
your
Fantastic.
Yeah, this is your sort of creation as well. It's awesome, man. I mean, it's so cool. The pun
That is cool.
aside, just an awesome idea for a completely off the wall
Oh yeah.
skin idea.
Look at that. Look
Yes.
at the
I
auto
absolutely
effect,
love
dude.
this. I haven't gotten to see the model yet, and now that I'm seeing it, it's
Oh,
amazing.
man. The
I
auto
love this.
effect is so
They captured
cool.
all the burning trees and everything like that from the Ardennes. It's perfect.
It looks great. I mean, you have the Agni skin as well that's kind of World War I inspired. That must be a favorite of yours.
Yes, yep. That's a favorite, and now this is probably my new favorite.
The infantry Sylvanas right there.
I think one of my favorite things is that he got to this time we got to fit the Doughboy helmet on his head.
Yep. Don't have to worry about two heads like you did with Agni.
Right.
I suppose. Tori, is Sylvanas one of the harder ones to animate
it.
for? Because Sylvanas himself is the tiny guy on top, not the big tree
Right.
that you see.
Well, luckily with this one, we didn't have to do too much back and forth since it stayed similar to the original model. But Allie did the VXG for him, and I'm sure
here's
that
the
was a
VXG.
real challenge to do, but she totally killed it.
Well, here is that VXG. And he's going to work, dude. He's setting up everything, jumping around.
Oh,
That is
nice.
way more Sylvanas movement than
All
we've
right.
seen on just about every other skin. That is awesome.
That's fantastic.
I like his little feet,
I love it.
like jumping
That is
everywhere.
so cool. Let's take a listen to the voice pack for him.
A right shot! Ha-ha! Yes! I am the best! Nobody has gotten past Grover and I. Why will you be different? Huh, no matter which way you march,
It's a better voice
it's
pack than
always
most voice packs we
uphill.
get, actually. It's more unique.
That's a great laugh. Another Sylvanas also underrated laugh character. Just in
Yeah.
general.
accent too.
Seriously.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the accent.
Love this
phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
my
that's right. We
All
have.
right, let's take a listen
this
to
is a
or take a look
Cernados
at
skin.
rather Great Tengu Kernanos, our final skin of
I
the
totally
patch.
forgot this was Kernanos, by the way.
What's that?
I totally forgot it was Kernanos.
Yeah, he's got a different look to him,
Yeah.
but I
Way
saw this in
different
game last week, I believe. At least just like the model itself. And this little sword he's got on his back is sweet. I'm about that, man. I wish I could just like carry around a little tiny sword. I don't know what I'd do with it.
Ooh,
but,
that
you know,
too
it's
is
fine.
really
I-
cool looking.
I would not do that.
Ooh.
That's not what I would do. Maybe you would do that to me, but not me. Little gardens, and he turns them into
Oh,
toys. That's amazing.
That's a
They're
BM.
floppy and
That's
shit.
a little
They're very
BM.
floppy.
Turning your
As
enemies
fish
into a
should be.
floppy
I love
fish.
these animal skins that take animals and then turn them into other animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
pretty
This little
good.
garden,
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
it's
that's
beautiful.
Guard and
That's
the
pretty
fish.
good. The floppy
amazing.
fish
You can put the fish in the garden.
Oh man,
Oh, how nice.
that was.
That's not really
Oh
where
god,
fish
I
usually
kind of
go,
love
but
it. I kind of
I
love
can
it.
kind of get about it. In case you weren't.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay.
All right.
We're cool with this.
man.
Yeah. Just flying on his glaive.
I love how he's switching through all his stances right there.
That is awesome. In case you guys weren't aware, I clearly knew this for sure, but Tengu are legendary creatures from Japanese myth, often known for stirring up trouble, but also as masters of swordsmanship. Our Tengu shakes things up even more by polymorphing his foes into colorful koi fish.
Nice.
There you have it. Let's take a listen to the voice pack here for Great Tengu Kurnanos.
No hesitation. Bow to my blade. Your spirit shines. The drums of war thunder. Don't bother giving your name. No one will remember you anyway. I've been known to throw caution to the wind.
There you have it. It's Great Tengu Kurnanos. An insane patch. I mean, my booklet was only the skin section, and it was still thick. This doesn't have any of the balance section,
was
which
a
took an eternity because there were so many different changes.
Literally
if you missed all that, it'll be on our website. Make sure you go to our
patch.
social medias as well. I believe PTS goes up tomorrow, they said, so make sure you check that out as soon as you can. And don't go anywhere because the Mid-Season Invitational is starting right
I'm sorry,
after
we
this.
are
Don't
going
go
somewhere.
anywhere. I mean,
We
the
are.
streams aren't even dropping,
Wow,
so we'll be
what?
right back with the Mid-Season Invitational. Thanks so much for
What a crazy mid-season patch, y'all. A lot of god changes, a lot of item changes, a lot of balances and stuff. Way infinitely bigger than the Season 6 patch. The big thing, more so than anything, is that there is now new mandatory items that you have to buy in Smite. That new item set that they put in is totally mandatory for every class. You will have to buy your class's